you.
Thank you. Yes, and, on the agenda, we have invocation. I'd like to ask Honorable Kealan DeGay Jr. this morning. Honorable DeGay. Honorable DeGay.
I don't believe Chairman.
Chairman Kealan.
Honorable DeGay, could you do the invocation?
I apologize, Chairman. I'm sorry. Yeah. Hold on. Oshiada means Ado Kodoshin so that deals in Shahagadi Ashahundoni Kodonche. Another Sikado, I don't say it's not a sick case. Ado deep binibi Kodohana or deep binibi Kodoshanting being not flat. Some cut Katita, some kind netta. You didn't conk at Artobe, hot A, some be hearted A B. In Lagi Quack, A B Katita. A coco codo or Jena Inica, Codo. I told you, Nana, I did, I don't not need out of the issue when he Jena hot at the issue one CKC. I don't has it at all, and I did other could committee members on son Makai government Diego did ego could have the Diago got Saton Beginan in needs in the Eco Resource Development Committee of the Naval Nation Council had I been Hitochigo Kodo. When yet Sina is the dog Kodo such call it nada yitla. I could ask for a shop Nodo Shabbat Holgad. Ishibanet Ido Ishibanati agenda the Baka Sokodo. One way or another, the Nabit that echo on Navajo people. The make her care had in Kaya Dabanit and Sato. Other Kodo, although that some of us didn't make it in the latter. The community now used to get a day Kodo, Sato, Bananish. Do Sato government Aniki Adaka again, and Adam Lenix Adam Dake. Shabsah on the Lodo out of the community, the chapter officials ask where Shabsah on the Lodo Kodo. Being Yashin Kodo, when you don't need the date in the guard Kodo. But ended up for a Basat or Listo issue with that is Aki. Basat or Listo Kodo, baby and has to Kodo Artsway or. Nahash name Clado Lescard, who take away Kodo Zini, Ababana Inchka, Ada Kodo, plus each and every one of the officials, Ada plus each and every one of the RDC member. Ada Kodon and large down the House Speaker, the President, Vice President, and Chief Justice that asked Kodo. In each and every one of the staff that asked Kodo. Nakabada Holian, he can't have a report that. Our advisor, our legislative council that asks for Ecuador. It is seen Kodobanan should I use it other the shin the house in the Kodet Adi. Nihin the house Tradon, he can't have the Kato Kodobanan should I use and get up to Ecuador. We need little little benashin and let God what I could also need artists in the Bihar seat on this I could. As Rashikon hin that the Yoston head and in the guard as on the Kodon Hashin Denigi, San Denigi are then. San Lin Hanan Shokad, on the Kodo did I Kodo, but other Chilan of Sesha Koka, not Roshida Ada Kodo, Arts Coach A Kodo, Baby Chia, the Hodlo, other Koba, the Wenny, Kotoda, Nazin, the Kodo to dry up that's other that not the Skigo by Yada Tika. But I would aim the journey, the San Hatan Land, Night Asian could San Lini had a Kodo, baby can't die, hit Ashin Kodo. ni zinit kodo ben hol jishiki kot ego kodot short and on the shape and na go kodo you probably given us this the kot ego kodo shohe did shana hono zin ake ye go behino nana ton limigi dan sa kot ego kodo I could even take that away the nor da shibe Hilishan and the dashi that in the guard kodo what ended over na inika bench na inika guard kodo after yat court could get a list ado we will the bit honda street or list adon hitli halan hilito ado the pet of ado yan that a guard kodo ego kodo then the nasa beina adayosan kodo yan diniko the Ben Lini kit had at the Kashi in the Kobe, the Honobeca, she read the Hologa. Could it ask where could open that is candle, little one that is candle. Aro could Hatchin and Linigis or you'd not that is high school college. Blessing each and every one of them could own us net energy at a go. It's an anna case of this another Stitland could higher education, community college, and university note another dot that. Others have the Shinkoto service for the shit that is Catholic technical school, the Idaho, go the hot, when I'm stashing at it on this guard. So, blessing each every one of our graduates, this month, Lord Jesus, did EU Kodo, Wapana Inchka, Ada Kodo. The Queen Gashin has it all and that with a codo after penetrating it all this codon Himasan Hitchi Sani, but the Hayana Sandos Triba, the Hayana Aden the house. I want his last sort of an Habat, the Holika at the car and that Kego. The blessings that they'll give assurance to the family codo that they are not in harm's way, but more in the protection God could ask her. Which often lead the list God beat a great could also doesn't limit after the beha seat on this Lord. I could ask way on the not list artsway and Jehoshua artsway could on how the Habahots are the list on hand and lago could on us energy at a hit or any national just list God could out ego could also doesn't limit after the beha seat on this near Aslan nation Jesus Christ was a branch of this amen. Amen.
Yeah. Honorable Gay, Ron Hudson, and again, by Kay, like the Russian and Machan. In Chick case go, Rosa, he laid on the Loya, Nata, appeared to go, Russian, Sani, even Machan, to that. Hello, Achay, none at all. The announcements, Mr. Tahi, do you have any announcements for us?
Chair, members of RDC, after the conclusion of our meeting today at 1 o'clock, we do have a leadership meeting with Ejr Energy. We are completing the meeting that was previously scheduled to do a rig and production tour of Ejr Energy here in the Naive area. And Chairman, RDC members, for next week, we do have a busy schedule. On Tuesday, we have a water rights work leadership meeting with Department of Justice Water Rights Unit, Water Rights Commission, and Water Management Branch out at Twin Arrows Casino. This meeting will be held in executive session. On Wednesday, I am proposing that RDC meet at Twin Arrows Casino for the regular meeting. In addition, have a leadership meeting thereafter with Gaming Enterprise and Louis Roca for a site tour. On the 19th and the 20th, on Thursday and Friday, we have a 2-day work session burials as it relates to private cemeteries on the Navajo Nation. Again, this meeting will also be held at Twin Arrows Casino. The chairman, that's my announcements for RDC. Back to you.
Thank you, Mr. Tahi. Honorable members of RDC, do you have any announcements? I hear none.
Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Daniel.
Honorable Daniels, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, kudo. Ada kudo. Nanta ano sendigi ano staff kudo. Ada suche kudo dam. Kudo zumbe. Etan ne tiki kudo. Kaya zudan kago kudo. Ani hotan I see betan ne kla. Bo I see kaya kudo suche. Ada kudo na gaya dam. Tikari zesiki on the 26th, we're going to be doing a tour of the proposed road project from Ojto to Nassau on a tour in our metal electrical. So the other time, in the very I already seen the very kind of very Nassau on the way. We crossed the Pipe Canyon and we went on top of the Pipe Mesa. 18 meters. This is where the road is going to be. So on the 26th, we're going to do a tour from the Ojto side down. And we're going to go into Copper Canyon along the San Juan River, on the Lake Calvary. But soon the road that needs to eat on it. I don't know. On the tour, we're going to have Lieutenant Governor and her staff up in the state of Utah. She won't be caught on it. So, Shanant, I'm going to get I see John go let me young go I receive the resources around committee. I don't think in these to do invite to RDC and other speakers office agent to change these I don't know put on the way down. On that day on the 26th of May, the 27th on the way down, there's going to be a signing ceremony. Utah Water Rights Settlement Agreement signing ceremony electoral I don't know from state of Utah governor, lieutenant governor, I don't know senators and representatives I should say from the Navajo Nation, Navajo Nation president, vice president, Interior Secretary Deb Holland, so that's going to be on the 27th of May this month at the Naval Welcome Center. I don't know. I was invited to graduation too. Did that day. The very not on the story as a graduation bond is state or electrical, not on high school, Jaguars. Exchange and the Pinnacle. I don't know in the afternoon 2 o'clock. Monument Valley High School, Utah. Cougars. Graduation and the Kittle. So I was invited to those two graduation stuff. So same time they're going to be doing the signing on this side. So I'm not sure what electrical. So it is I don't know in July. There is gathering so electrical. So they get the flyer itinerary that I see has changed the agenda. So it's that just so during that time they usually do a horse ride, trail ride to their ears. So it is so yesterday the other day I was talking to one of the riders, we're gonna ride in from Atlantic View, no, but the husband but I'll keep you RDC informed on that activity. There is gas. So it is on Mexico. So that's right now. Mr. Chair, thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Daniels, for that announcement. Any other announcements? None.
Chairman,
Yes.
this is Delegate Stewart.
Honorable Stewart,
Yes, and I, Chairman Aaron, that's Ejr Vice Chair. I do have an announcement tonight. I wanted to go ahead and announce or get the committee know that we do have the two individuals that we've announced before for the college finals, Hayo Yazi and Mr. Yazi. But we also have two more that have qualified, and that's Jacob Torricini and I forgot the other individuals. Matt Marine. Brad Marino, that qualified as well. And then we have another individual that qualified for the WCRA through the bull riding, and he lives in Albuquerque, originally from Fort Defiance. And his name is Tommy C. Sam. And so I got that news the other evening. So we do have a lot of our young athletes coming up in the ranks in the sport of rodeo in different events. And I wanted to share that with RDC because as the Resource Development Committee, we take care of our livestock. We encourage our community members to have that type of lifestyle and to continue that type of lifestyle if they are doing that, because there is a benefit to that, to our younger generation to continue that way of life that we all are appreciative of and has too many teachings in that way for it. The other one, Chairman, is that I did not go out to Naizi today. Excuse me for that. But I do have a visit this afternoon from the US EPA. And this is regarding the Navajo Red Lake area, the Navajo Forestry Product facility that was there. They're going to come out and explore that area again. And we also have a brownfield funding that's going to happen this summer for that. And I know when we first came in as delegates, I asked that we have a meeting there. They did present to us then at that time with the EPA, Pam Maples. And so right now, this is how far we've come. And it's through the efforts of RDC, myself, Pam Maples from EPA, and also the community there, the town site commission there that has really been pushing to make sure that that cleanup gets done. We've done certain parts of it. Now we're going through the Brownsfield project now to do some exploration and some cleaning up again this summer. So I wanted to share that again, Chairman and colleagues. So again, thank you. And I will be on the line for a little bit until I get called to another meeting again. I'll be here regarding that, Chairman. Thank you.
Honorable Stewart, thank you for that announcement. Congratulations to our Navajo participant in this college finals rodeo. That's really good to hear. And thank you for following our participants, Honorable Stewart. Yeah. Any other announcements? Nanda? I hear none. We'll move down to number 2, recognizing guests and visiting officials. We'll have introductions for all, starting with the honorable members of RDC. Honorable Vice Chair Walker.
Yes, Chairman, the committee, the staff, the audience that's there in person today, the audience that are on the call this morning. So good morning to each and everyone. Thomas Walker Jr. age Nadida. Although we the twin lane the Lana San the second gate aja the our person the little for the story adi ta shikoti neoti banasha nishiko what echo I don't but yeah at I think 110 chapters a bande Nijeda was the same though that Nana I don't Shiniki a shin hinch be Petroleum she that what's on the issue that either Nana Sadishki additional without Queen Sheko Ado Nadika and Sheko Yat Eco teacher where canonically adequate the honorable key element gates of the zone. The hands iki has it's a leco that they need or how it's zig out answer the case of Joba Winson. Ben Sadi Kisto near to the home. Ado has sick with answer the case could echo. Could you check on Hanya and should ashing the بيشبه إيبي أتخاون شو وتأكو سناندا دو تخاسين لكو دو أكوات نحصل أني جدو نايزة واليهك تخاسين دو دا نحلنجي دو نخدع النشيجي دو نالنشة دا نلنجي دو أستويسان نشي كله هذا سيجي كي تاشي هون داكري يات انجديني دولة دي قدين توقو أسليد زيل سأنكي بيجيدو هادو اي خشنا اكو Okay, Chairman, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Honorable Vice Chair Walker. Honorable K. Allen Begay Jr.
Good morning, Chairman. Here in Andorles. Ja, het is keer of niet kro, zodat je honor niet national kan aan het dat ze zeggen. Betreft niet dat ze zeggen dat is niet dat ze nalle. Ado slaat dat le patrat shaki loma on trachibuk salana kan would nansland and many farms. Koko here had you didn't need a list. I do apologize for not being there, Chairman, and the local officials, but nonetheless, I am part of the meeting this morning. So, yeah, thank you very much, Chairman.
Thank you, Honorable Begay. Honorable Daniels.
Yeah, Nana Kodota, as a chair, and Dakota vice chairs, colleagues, staff, and Dakota says, things I know strong Kodo, should add Kodo Herman Daniels Jr. He should see, I don't need it on me. I don't get it seen either, Suzanne, as Kahato, either Sunala. Go ahead, Lini, now create the man, either Suche, or die the man's Sanko, or die get hit in either that he Benibie. I don't know Banas, the Siki, not if on or get not to out in that happy can a Banasness. What are you to doubt the fiddleness? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Daniels. Honorable Freeland. Honorable Freeland. He was on his way, so he's probably almost here. Honorable Stewart. Honorable Stewart.
Yes, speakers. Chairman, I'm here. So
Yes.
again, good morning, Chairman.
Introductions.
Okay, Chairman, Vice Chair, it's not this morning. I thought he's going to funny. Jaya Wilson, C. Stewart Jr. and Shadow Tell Topic and Cheat when he did a Batrata Shah. This morning, a hotels and then in question for the Resource Development Committee meeting. What's on the age then as catching the shade up between the Chanel. So key like for the prayer this morning. So to start off our day and our week as well. Have my kids and Councilor Chairman, thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Stewart. Honorable Freeland? None? Shay, you have recognized in Shia. For 100 for Zay Touchy, Mrs. Chain, Sana, that is shade out in our honor, nullified and Navigable for the Bensa, the Gate Ocean, though San Juan chapter has no auto age. A strong chapter is one Ashna, Ya Hogbat, San Juan, Nenanza, Petroleum, Burnham, and Newcomb. Welcome, everybody, to RDC meeting, those of you that called in, and those that are here in person. And I use you chapter again, cut out. I put it. Shane Moss nodded, I'll let to staff, Mr. Pahe.
Good morning, chair members of RDC, those online and those present here at the chapter. My name is Rodney Tahi. I'm the Legislative Advisor for Resource and Development Committee. I'm Kia'ani and Senja, and I'm originally from Steamboat, Arizona. Back to you, Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Tahi. Ms. Springer.
My name is Heather Springer. I'm a legislative assistant with the RDC Committee, with the Office of Legislative Services. Morning, everybody.
Thank you. And we have on the call with us our attorney, Ms. Kong.
Yad Chairman is Do Yat Ed, Vice Chairman Walker, Do Resources and Development Committee members, Dano Shinigi, Ado Yat Ed, Na is the chapter officials and members of your community. Thank you for joining us. Chiaj Delegate Kialan Begay, Citizen Behain Zigi, Ahehe. J. Mariana Khan, Dashajane, Dona and the Shinigi a toy here, leaning, but Ani Bashish Chin, Lash Chi, Dasha Chain, Sanja Kina, Dashanala, I could our son in the Shlin. I hear and I hear so Kaigo that in scenes. So, Mr. Chairman, I will go on mute now. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Khan, for joining the call with us. We also have on call with us our colleagues from the 24th Navajo Nation Council, Honorable Paul Begay.
Oh, yeah, been naive, the Health, Education, and Human Services are the best. Paul Begay in Shiedo. Added not up at Sansta. The Chi do Beshka Gate, Sanapa Sabatin. One had linked all great beat. H Lago Ea Tartnas and Libas. Ado Sadeshkis in the net inch. Shazay be between need the net and left. Ado Shachi to the Chini. Ado Sanala Ea Kia Anit net and got out in Ninch. Ado Shachi Honorable Delegate Kiel and Begin, John Goi. Bestego Ea, Citizen Behin Seat or Ele Bikeko Ea. But Ego Yate Ado Benazzi, this thing at ICEGO. Nick has got echo. Benna it's it. I could been Benedic Ea hot after the Bear. They had a wheat laugh, I see by Henson. Hotel best ego Dani, so Hishi. So the Zumbe. They had it, number that Nigi. Yod big ego, the king should try hotel. Ahako Iba Henson audition. Honorable Chair, yeah.
Yeah, Honorable Begay, Honorable Otto. Honorable Otto.
Chairman, actually, okay. I was trying to unmute myself. Yeah, they've been additional additional Resources Development Committee members, Chairman, Vice Chair, and I know this one has called 24th Navajo Nation Council colleagues. Yeah, they've been also in Shia. Now, naturally, he's leaning Shia. And it's as a couple of Ibas chained or look at and 8 as a chase. And not Jenny 8 as a look at it and then little 20 the basement has unslow without a hold just so could it can see not I think so. I can't navigate it or you see Roban seek his. Oh, here has an I'll so it.
Yeah, Honorable Otto. We do have here in person with us from the Office of the President, Vice President, Ms. Clashen.
Gate Bennett, Teresita Clashen, Unitia. I am from the Office of the President and Vice President. I am an Executive Staff Assistant. Lizadoti, Insulando, Knowledge, Legislative, Bashis Chains, the Clutnia, Dashachedo, Maidishkis, Dashanella, Natani, Nade, Danasha. Good morning, everyone. I'm glad to be here in person, and I look forward to today's agenda items. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Clashen. We also have on call with us from the Office of the President, Vice President, Mr. Davis Filford.
Yante Chair, member of Resource Development Committee, staff, and Everybody that's listening in, also the Untitled chapter, the chapter official, and all those that are going to present. Davis Filford from Office of the President, Vice President, Executive Staff Assistant. I'll be listening in. Have a good day.
Thank you, Mr. Filford. We also have here at Untitled Chapter President, Mr. Irving Peacewood. I'm sorry. Travis. I'm sorry. I'm very sorry about that. Irving Travis.
RDC, Mr. Chairman. Although there RDC members of litigation and I'm County Council delegate. Although we have a couple of guests out of the congregation. When I get in Kagi, Ado Anhana coverage RDC. Very yego I hate when I get it. Dikodo and figure urban Chavez. I could also not give it up. I don't study again on Bonnie. Study that either. I don't know create but she I wrote a Chanel and a shape without a could the next let go. But I should go that out.
Yeah, Mr. Travis, thank you. Mr. Rory Hackus, Vice President.
Good morning, RDC, Honorable Chairman Nez, other RDC committee members, other staff, again, Chapter Vice President Rory Hawkins, Nahabani, Stingo, Tanapi, but Chindo, and Kaineda, Ado, Puritini, National. Our family has an allotment 3 miles to the southwest from here. Ado, yeah, and Stingo Lake. And thank you for coming out, even though we know that we still have a pandemic. Hopefully soon we can have in-person meetings. I know that it's really difficult to be fully engaged and participate in the meetings through teleconference, but we're still grateful. Nevertheless, I don't Mr. Ned, Nana. Thank you.
Thank you. We also have here folks on the floor. Do we have Jesse Valdez?
Mr. Chairman, I apologize. One correction. We do have the name on that is on former Secretary Treasurer. Our current Secretary Treasurer, Jessica Platero. She's our Secretary Treasurer. I don't know how the other region in the United States for you. I got the name. She injured herself, so she's homebound for the time being. So she can't be here today. But she's okay. She's recuperated home.
Okay, thank you. We have folks on the floor. Could you come up and introduce yourself, please?
Good morning, Shanant Ani, I'm both Chairman, Resource Development Committee, and members that are on the line. My name is Michelle Jones. I'm the Acting Executive Director with the Navajo Nation Gaming Regulatory Office. I'm originally from Rock Point, Arizona. I work in Window Rock at the main office, and I now live in Sanders, Arizona. So had a good drive coming over. Thank you.
Thank you.
Regulatory, Navajo Nation Regulatory, so Red Mesa, they see Nasha, the auto and the engineer, a station is not upon how much is chain, hit a chili, that's a shade, or for the chili, that's another Sundance, or that, I admire your chapter house, you know how that decide to complement your chapter health. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next.
Hey, good morning. I've been in RDC, those Jason Woody and just the cheating is shown on this vegetation, Sanjikina Chanela. Shanad Navajo Gaming Regulatory Office, so surveillance manager is my job title, and I'm working out of Northern Edge Casino and also from Flowing Water. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Good morning, RDC. My name is David Lee. I work for Navajo Gaming Regulatory Office. I'm a game enforcement manager for Northern Edge. And originally I am from Farmington. Thank you. David Lee.
David Lee.
Yes.
Thank you. Ronkai Stela, Navajo Gaming Regulatory Officer. We do have on the call with us Dr. Crystal Tully Cordova.
Yat bene she Crystal Tully Cordova Yanashia, Twitch eating the Schlant at as a nebashish chin, Hashkan Hatzoha Edasha Chetwo, Heglini Edashanale. Yat bene, happy to be here today listening in.
Thank you. We also have with us Shelby Daisy, Navajo EPA.
Yat she Shelby Daisy and Nisha, Twitchini Nisha, Twitchini Bashin, Kiani Dashate, Lokaitana Dashanala. I am a remedial project manager at Naval EPA. I'll be listening in today. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have anybody from Department of Justice?
Good morning, members of RDC. My name is Jordan Oglesby. I'm an attorney with the Navajo Nation Department of Justice within the Economic Community Development Unit. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else on the call that wishes to introduce himself?
My name is Rory Dilweg. It's unusual to have another Rory in a meeting, so it's always nice. I'm the attorney for the Navajo Nation Gaming Regulatory Office.
Welcome. Anybody else?
Yeah, good morning. This is Drew Savage with the Army Corps of Engineers. Chairman Nez, Vice Chair Walker, and the Resource Development Committee. Appreciate the opportunity to present to you today. Standing by. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Mr. Curtis Yanito from Mexican Water Chapter President, just listening in. If you have.
Did you say Curtis? Is that you?
Yanito.
Okay. Good morning, Mr. Yanito. Go ahead. Thank you for calling in the RDC meeting. Go ahead. Next.
Good morning, Che Leonardo Eldridge. I'm from Totalina to Gray Hills chapter manager.
Thank you. Next. Do we have BIA on the call? None? Okay, we'll move down on the agenda. Number 3, reviewing and approving the agenda. Mr. Pai, do you read this into the record, please?
The chair, members of RDC, this is the agenda as follows, read into the record. Resource and Development Committee of the 24th Navajo Nation Council, regular meeting, Wednesday, May 11th, 2022, 9 a.m. Presiding, Honorable Ricky Nez, Chairperson. Honorable Thomas Walker Jr., Vice Chairperson. Location, Naizi Chapter, and via telecommunication. 1, call the meeting to order, roll call, invocation, and announcement. 2, recognizing guests and visiting officials. 3, reviewing and approving the agenda. 4, reviewing and approving the journals. April 13th, 2022, regular meeting. April 29th, 2022, special meeting. April 4th, 2022, regular meeting. 5, receiving report. A, welcome address from Naizi chapter officials, Urban Chavez, President, Roy Kuk, Vice President, and Jessica Patero, Secretary Treasurer. B, report from the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, on their organization, approach, and programs. Presenter Robert Andrew Savage. C, report from Navajo Nation Gaming Regulatory Office on small bingo games, community bingos on the Navajo Nation. Presenter Michelle Key Jones. 6, old business, none. 7, new business. 8, legislation 0091-22, an act relating to resource and development, approving the grant of a right-of-way to Continental Electric Cooperative, Inc. for the Sundance right-of-way. Number 2, power line, fiber optic line project located on Navajo Nation trust land in Church Rock Chapter Vicinity, Mckinley County, New Mexico. Sponsor, Honorable Edmund Yazzie. B, approving a leadership meeting in executive session at Twin Arrows Casino Resort with the Navajo Department of Justice Water Rights Unit, Navajo Nation Water Rights Commission, Navajo Water Management Branch, and the Water Litigation, Negotiation, and Settlement in New Mexico for the Navajo Nation on Tuesday, May 17, 2022 at 9 a.m. C, approving to change Resource and Development Committee's regular meeting time and location to 9 a.m. at Twin Arrows Casino for Wednesday, May 18, 2022. D, approving a 2-day work session at Twin Arrows Casino with the Office of Legislative Counsel, Navajo Nation Human Rights Commission, Navajo Department of Justice, Division of Natural Resources, Navajo Nation Land Department, General Land Development Department, Heritage and Historic Preservation Department, Department of Agriculture, Range and Farm Management, Bureau of Indian Affairs, and Bureau of Land Management on private family cemeteries as it relates to Navajo Nation burial and cemetery regulations for Thursday, May 19th and Friday, May 20th, 2022 at 9 a.m. E, approving a leadership meeting to conduct a tour of El Patron in and near Annis, Utah on carbon capture and storage on Thursday, June 30th, 2022 at 9 a.m. 8, close the meeting and adjournment. Chair members of RDC, that is the agenda read into the record. Back to you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Tahi, for reading that into the record. The agenda, honorable members of RDC. Let's have a motion and a second. A motion, Chair. Motion by Honorable Freeland. Is there a second? Thank you.
This is Daniel. I'll go in a second.
Thank you, Honorable Daniels, for seconding that motion. Are there any comments or questions on the main motion?
Mr. Chair, this is Daniel.
Honorable Daniels, you have the floor.
Yes, very much agenda and the topic. Maybe when we get to the very reports that she on the caution, like to suspend the floor rules go yesterday to go to new business. I didn't know that reports on the it didn't have to speak with us, Mr. Chair.
Okay, so Honorable Daniels, we can go to new business right after the journal's approval. We can suspend the floor rules at that time and take care of that quickly before the reports.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments or questions? I hear none. We'll go ahead and vote on the main motion as it is. Honorable Vice Chair Walker, how do you vote?
Mr. Chairman, I vote green.
Thank you, Honorable Vice Chair Walker. Honorable Guest.
Chairman Kiel votes green. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Guest. Honorable Daniel.
I vote green.
Thank you, Honorable Daniels. Honorable Freeland. Vote green, Chairman. Honorable Freeland votes green. Honorable Stewart.
Green.
Honorable Stewart votes green. Thank you. We have a vote of 5 in favor, 0 opposed. Chair not voting, motion carries. We do have an approved agenda before us at this time. We'll move down to number 4, reviewing and approving journals. This was sent to us by Ms. Springer for April 13, 2022, April 29, 2022, May 4, 2022. I'd like to have a motion and a second. Honorable Mark Freeland, motion, second by is there a second on the journal?
Yeah, Alan.
Honorable Begay, thank you. Any comments or questions on the journal? I hear none. Honorable Vice Chair Walker, how do you vote?
Chair, I vote green.
Thank you. Honorable Begay?
Chair votes green. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Daniels?
I vote green.
Thank you. Honorable Freeland? Honorable Freeland votes green. Honorable Stewart?
Green.
Honorable Stewart votes green. We have a vote of 5 in favor, 0 opposed. Chair not voting, motion carries to approve the journals from April 13, April 29, May 4. Thank you. Moving down, Honorable Daniels requested to suspend the floor rules and go directly to new business. Is there a motion to suspend the floor rules?
Mr. Chair, this is Daniel.
Thank you, Honorable Daniels. Honorable Daniels, could you state the motion to suspend the floor rules?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to suspend the floor rules and go to new business.
Thank you, Honorable Daniels. Is there a second?
Chair, I'll second that.
Thank you, Honorable Vice Chair Walker. Any comments or questions? None? Honorable Vice Chair Walker, how do you vote?
I vote green.
Thank you. Honorable Begay, how do you vote?
Chairman Keala votes green. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Daniels?
Green.
Thank you. Honorable Freeland?
Green, Chairman.
Honorable Freeland votes green. Honorable Stewart?
No.
Green.
Thank you. We do have a vote of 5 in favor, 0 opposed. Chair not voting, motion carries. We'll go directly to new business at this time. Number 7, Honorable Edmund Yazzie, are you on the call? None? Okay, we'll go down to B. Under B, we have approving a leadership meeting in executive session at Twin Arrows Navajo Casino Resort with the Navajo Department of Justice Water Rights Unit, Navajo Nation Water Rights Commission, and the Navajo Water Management Branch. The water litigations, negotiations, and settlements in New Mexico will be the discussion on Tuesday, May 17th at 9 a.m. Like to have a motion and a second. Honorable Freeland.
Chairman, I motion.
Second by Honorable Vice Chair Walker. Any comments or questions? None? Honorable Vice Chair Walker, how do you vote?
I vote green.
Thank you. Honorable Begay?
Chairman Keala votes green. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Daniels?
Green.
Thank you. Honorable Freeland? Honorable Freeland votes green. Honorable Stewart? Honorable Stewart votes green according to his text message. We have a vote of 5 in favor, 0 opposed, chair not voting, motion carries. Thank you. None. C, approving to change Resources and Development Committee's regular meeting time and location to 9 a.m. at Twin Arrows Casino Resort for Wednesday, May 18. Like to have a motion and a second.
Motion, Daniels.
Honorable Daniels, thank you. Second by?
I'll second that, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Vice Chair Walker. Any comments, questions? Honorable Freeland?
Thank you, Chairman. At some point, Chairman, maybe we should look at using Fire Rock as well, or Northern Edge, maybe. I know we go to Twin Arrows a lot, and I don't mind going out there. It's beautiful, but maybe if we could start looking at Fire Rock at also Northern Edge, because you know it's going to, to me it's a distance travel, and going out there every other week it's a lot. So maybe if we can look at rotating at some point, think about that, and maybe utilization of all the facilities. I don't know if Northern Edge has the capacity or somewhere, but just a consideration, Chairman.
Okay.
I like Twin Arrows, but I always feel like when I go there, I just want to leave. I'm ready to leave already because we're always there. So I just Chairman, just a comment. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your comment and recommendations to, at some point, have some of our leadership meetings at Fire Rock. I believe that we do go out to Twin Arrows because this is a 2-day session, the 17th and the 18th. And it's always best to have a place to sleep, and they have the hotel there too. So if it was a 1-day meeting, we can have one of those at Fire Rock nearby. So thank you, Honorable Freeland. Any other comments or questions? None? Honorable Vice Chair Walker, how do you vote?
Chairman, I vote green.
Thank you. Honorable Begay?
Chairman Keller votes green. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Daniels?
Green.
Thank you. Honorable Freeland? Honorable Freeland votes green. Honorable Stewart?
Green, Chairman.
Thank you. We have a vote of 5 in favor, 0 opposed, chair not voting, motion carries. D, approving a 2-day work session at Twin Arrows Casino Resort with the Office of Legislative Counsel, Navajo Nation Human Rights Commission, Navajo Department of Justice, Division of Natural Resources, Navajo Nation Land Department, General Land Development Department, Heritage and Historic Preservation Department, Department of Agriculture, Range and Farm Management, the Bureau of Indian Affairs, and Bureau of Land Management on private family cemeteries as it relates to the Navajo Nation burial and cemetery regulations, Thursday, May 19th, Friday, and May 20th at 9 a.m. We will have the grazing officials there with us, as we had discussed, and the farm board and the land board to provide their recommendations due to the grazing officials, the land board and the farm board working with people at the local level on how that this private family cemeteries are really getting out of hand. And we need to start discussing how to come up with a solution to have community cemeteries rather than family plots. So, honorable members of RDC, let's have a motion and a second.
A motion, Chairman.
Motion, Honorable Freeland, second by?
I'll second that.
Honorable Vice Chair Walker seconds the motion. Thank you. Any comments or questions? Mr. Tahi?
Chairman, members of RDC, I just want to add to that really quick. The Department of Agriculture, Range and Farm Management, Roxy Jude, is going to be dealing with the Farm Board, the Land Board, and the grazing officials on registering those who can attend. Twin Arrows Casino could only allow a facility to do 75 people. So automatically I gave Department of Agriculture 50 slots so they can fill with those elected officials and members, and the remaining 25 will go to the rest of the departments for us to fill in.
Thank you for coordinating this meeting for us, Mr. Tahi Nanda. There's only going to be a capacity of 75 people limit at this meeting. And the reason why we have it out there is Twin Arrows is the only venue where they can have a lot more people, but there's no other place that can have more people in order for our grazing, land board, and farm board to participate. So thank you for that, Mr. Tahi. Any other comments or questions?
Chairman?
Honorable Freeland?
Chairman, other colleagues and staff. On this work session with the land board and the grazing officials, is there going to be a capacity limit? 75? Is there going to be like a sign up, or because I'm having land boards from our chapters asking if they can participate. So who would they contact? Is it like first come, first serve? Is it going to have a drawing to get in, or lottery? How's it going to work out? Because we're going to have a lot of land boards there and a lot of grazing officials there. And if we exceed 75, we're going to have some unhappy officials showing up. So
thank you.
Like even my chapter president from here, Naizi wants to attend too. And how are we going to allow them to? Are we going to allow? I guess how are we going to work that out? Because we're going to get more than 75.
I believe when we had our meeting last week at Naval Department, some chapter officials and chapter managers asked to attend, and I told them that this is for the land board, the grazing official, and farm board. They're the ones that work with the land at the local level. And I do understand that chapter officials work with the local community as well as the CSCs and the managers, but we really need the recommendations from the grazing officials, land board, and farm board. Perhaps with the 2 days, what we can do is some can attend on the first day, on the 19th, and some can attend on the 20th. And thereafter, when we compile all the information, a legislation needs to be drafted as soon as possible, as we are geared towards a solution to this issue on the Navajo Nation with having family burial plots throughout the nation that is scattered at this time. So Mr. Tahi, any advice?
Chair, members of RDC, to answer your question, Delegate Freeland, Roxy June from the Department of Agriculture is going to set up a registration for the farm board, the land board, and the grazing officials. And she's working out a formula for those individuals to come so it's equally proportionate to the agencies as well. She understands that space is limited. She understands that the chapter officials also want to attend, but her chairman's recommendation, this is going to be limited to those individuals. It will also be streamed online too, so they can still participate via internet as well.
Chairman, Chairman, I guess I asked this question because, we have 31 chapters in Eastern too. And, with all due respect to my colleagues and other agencies, we're going to have a huge probably turnout from Eastern. And it's quite a distance from here to Twin Arrows. And I would hate for them to show up and not be allowed to participate. And that's the concern I have. Unless we set up a room outside, or unless we do it outside or something. But just some consideration for especially those that travel the furthest as well. But Chairman just wanted to mention that, and I hope those that go will be able to participate, I guess is my point. So, Ejr Chairman, thank you.
Thank you. I believe folks that are want to participate can call in. I do understand that the chapter officials do work with the local communities closely. And somehow there just needs to be a representative from each chapter to attend this very important meeting on private family cemeteries. I believe that we'll just have this 2-day, 19th and 20th. Some can attend on the 19th and go home, and some can attend on the 20th. So that should work out for some. I'll be there. Any other comments or questions, honorable members of RDC?
Chairman?
Mr. Tahi?
The chairman, members of RDC, if any of the conference rooms are canceled, I'll work between us, see if they can open it up to extend it to a larger crowd for us. But that's just based on if they do cancel.
Okay. So if there are any cancellations, they can open up another area to have more people attend this 2-day session. Any other comments or questions? None. Honorable Freeland?
Thank you. So in regards to what Mr. Tahi mentioned, is it just one portion of, is it like one of those thin rooms? We get the whole grand ballroom open up. If there's any way, about the other things going on, huh? Okay. Never mind it.
Mr. Tahi, if you would let us know if they do cancel it, then we can reach out to others like chapter officials and just kind of let us know.
I will do that, Chairman.
Kushina, any other comments or questions?
Can Chairman,
Honorable Freeland?
can gaming regulatory watch us? Just kidding.
Yeah. Gaming regulatory can pass out free chips.
I'm just joking, and I say that wholeheartedly because they have a very important job. They watch everything that happens on the floor. As a former gaming person myself, I know the importance of their job, and we used to refer to them as Big Brother. Big Brother is always watching, so every time you're in the casino, just know that there's eyes on you at every moment. So, Ejr, want to thank them for being here as well. Ejr, Chairman, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Honorable members of RDC, any other comments or questions on D?
Chair?
Yes.
Chair, this is Edmund Yazzie. Good morning, everyone. I'm calling in. I was looking at the agenda and there's a different number. So, but anyway, I'm on call, okay? Reference to my legislation, sir.
Okay, we'll come back to your legislation shortly. Honorable Yazzie, Chairman Yazzie, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Honorable members of RDC, any other comments or questions? None. Honorable Vice Chair Walker, how do you vote?
Chairman, I vote green.
Thank you. Honorable Gay?
Chairman Keelan votes green. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Daniels?
I vote green.
Thank you. Honorable Freeland? Honorable Freeland votes green. Honorable Stewart? Honorable Stewart? We have a vote of 4 in favor, 0 opposed, chair not voting, motion carries. Thank you. We're under E, approving a leadership meeting to conduct a tour of Petroleum in near Anna, Utah on carbon capture and storage on Thursday, June 30th at 9 a.m. I'd like to have a motion and a second.
Mr. Chair.
Motion, Honorable Freeland. Second. Honorable Vice Chair Walker, seconds. Any comments, questions? None. Honorable Vice Chair Walker, how do you vote?
Green, I vote green.
Thank you. Honorable Gay, how do you vote?
Chairman Keelan votes green, thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Daniels?
Green.
Thank you. Honorable Freeland? Honorable Freeland votes green. Honorable Stewart?
Green, Chairman.
Thank you. We have a vote of 5 in favor, 0 opposed, chair not voting, motion carries. Okay, we'll go back to A, under new business. Honorable Chairman Edmund Yazzie is on the call, so Mr. Tahi, could you read legislation 0091-22 into the record? Resource and Development Committee has final authority on this legislation. Mr. Tahi?
Chair, members of RDC, you have legislative summary sheet tracking number 0091-22. Date March 23rd, 2022. Title of the resolution, proposed standing committee resolution, an action relating to resource and development, approving the grant of right-of-way to Continental Divide Electric Cooperative, Inc. for the Sundance right-of-way number 2 power line, fiber optic line project located on Navajo Nation Trust lands in Church Rock Chapter Vicinity, Mckinley County, New Mexico. Purpose. The purpose of this legislation is to approve the grant of right-of-way to Continental Divide Electric Cooperative, Inc. for construction, operation, and maintenance of a 14.4, 29.9 kV distribution power line, fiber optic line on, over, and across the Navajo Nation Trust lands in Church Rock Chapter Vicinity, McKinley County, New Mexico. The legislation would waive the consideration/compensation for this project. Chair, members of RDC, Resource and Development Committee has final authority over this legislation. The primary sponsor of this legislation is Delegate Edmund Yazzie, tracking number 0091-22, an action relating to resource and development, approving the grant of right-of-way to Continental Divide Electric Cooperative, Inc. for the Sundance right-of-way number 2 fiber power line, fiber optic line project located on Navajo Nation Trust land in Church Rock Chapter Vicinity, McKinley County, New Mexico. Be it enacted, Section 1 authority. Pursuant to 2 NNC Section 501B2, the Resource and Development Committee of the Navajo Nation Council has the authority to grant final approval for all land withdrawals, non-mineral lease, permits, licenses, right-of-way, surface easements, and bonding requirement on Navajo Nation lands and unrestricted sea land. This authority shall include subleases, modifications, assignment, leaseholding, encumbrance, transfers, renewals, and terminations. Section 2, findings. A, the Continental Divide Electric Cooperative, Inc., P.O. Box 1087, Grants, New Mexico 87020, has submitted a right-of-way application to construct, operate, and maintain a 14.4/29.9 kV distribution power line, fiber optic line, to serve the Church Rock Chapter. The terms and conditions is attached hereto in cooperation herein as Exhibit A. The proposed right-of-way is described in mass and distribution attached hereto and incorporated herein as Exhibit C. C, the District 16 Land Board members through the field clearance checklist dated November 2nd, 2021, identified one grazing permit with land use rights in the affected lands. The land user consent to the use of the lands for the purpose of the right-of-way easements for construction, operation, and maintenance of 14.4/29.9 kV electric distribution power line and fiber optic line, and its appendices to serve Church Rock Chapter Sundance number 2. The field clearance checklist dated November 2nd, 2022, and the land surface consent forms are attached as Exhibit C. D, the waiver of compensation for the right-of-way is requested. C 25 CFR Section 169.110, Exhibit A, the terms and conditions document in the state says that the compensation for a 20-year right-of-way is $13,147.72. The Resources Development Committee, through resolution number CRDCF-08-20, allows for 100% waiver of right-of-way consideration for nonprofit electric utility companies that provide services to Navajo residents on Navajo trust lands in Eastern Navajo Agency. F, the request right-of-way is located on Navajo trust land in Eastern Navajo Agency. Continental Divide Electric Company is a nonprofit electric company. G, the environmental study and ecological clearance included Exhibit D, the finding of no significant impact dated July 23rd, 2021, Exhibit E, the Heritage and Historic Preservation Department Cultural Resources Compliance Form, HPD-20-251, F, the Biological Resource Compliance Form, NNDFW Review Number 20DAN, L102-PK, Exhibit G, the Sundance Number 2 Biological Evaluation prepared by Denali Environmental Services dated April 2020, and Exhibit H, the Sundance Number 2 Biological Evaluation prepared by Denali Environmental Services dated July 2020 are attached. H, the right-of-way application is attached as Exhibit I. I, the application of right-of-way as submitted by Continental Divide Electric Cooperative Inc. has been reviewed. Executive official review process, including reviews by the Department of Justice, and approved or found significant. Executive official review document number 017949 is attached as Exhibit J. In Section 3, approval. The Research and Development Committee and the Navajo Nation Council hereby approves the grant of right-of-way to Continental Vital Electric Cooperative Inc. for construction, operations, and maintenance of a 14.4/29.9 kV distribution power line, fiber optic line on and over across the Navajo trust lands in Church Rock Chapter Vicinity, Mckinley County, New Mexico. The location is more particularly described on the survey match here to as Exhibit D. B, the Resource and Development Committee and the Navajo Nation Council hereby waives compensation of 100% of the assessed $13,147.72 of the right-of-way project for the 20-year term, because it has determined that accepting the agreed-upon compensation is in the best interest of the Navajo Nation pursuant to Title 25 CFR Section 169.110. The Resource and Development Committee and the Navajo Nation Council hereby approves the right-of-way subject to, but not limited to, the following terms and conditions incorporated here to as attached as Exhibit A. The Resource and Development Committee of the Navajo Nation Council hereby authorize the President of the Navajo Nation to execute any and all documents necessary to effect the intent and purpose of this resolution. Chair members of RDC, you have an attachment Exhibit A, the Navajo Nation right-of-way terms and conditions. You have attached as Exhibit B, the right-of-way map. Attached, you have Exhibit C, the clearance checklist. Attached, you have Exhibit E, the environmental assessment EA-20-8004-20, number 4, revised. You have Exhibit E, which is the Cultural Resource Compliance Form, HPD number HPD-20-215. You have Exhibit F, which is the Biological Resource Compliance Form for the Navajo Nation Department of Fish and Wildlife. Review number 20DAL102-PK. You have Exhibit G, which is the Sundance number 2 power line project. Environmental assessment by Denali Environmental Services, dated April 2020. You have Exhibit H, which is a Sundance number 2 power line environmental assessment right-of-way for WO number 86619 Church Rock Chapter, New Mexico. This was prepared by Continental Electric Cooperative and Denali Environmental Services. You have Exhibit I, which is the United States Department of the Interior Bureau of Indian Affairs right-of-way application. You have Exhibit J, which is the official review, document number 017946, date issue 12/29/2021. Then you have the Internet Public Review Summary, first report for legislation number 0091, sponsor Honorable Edmund Yazi. This legislation was posted on May 4th, 2022 at 1:57 p.m. The 5-day comment period ended May 9th of 2022. There was no comment supporting this legislation. There was no comment opposing this legislation. There was no comment or recommendation on this legislation. Chair members of RDC, that is legislation number 0091-22 read into the record. Back to you, Chairman.
Thank you very much, Mr. Tahi, for reading legislation 0091-22 into the record. Honorable Vice Chair Walker, are you still on the call with us?
Yes, Chairman.
Okay. Would you please facilitate the RDC meeting as I provide a report to one of my chapters?
Okay, Chair.
Thank you. You have the virtual gavel at this time.
Thank you. Thank you, Chairman, committee members, staff, and the listening audience that are in person, and the audience that are on the call. Chairman Edmund Yaz, welcome to our meeting. Committee members, the legislation that is read into the record here, let's establish a motion for that. Is there a motion?
Motion, Daniel.
Honorable Daniels makes that motion. Is there a second?
I'll second, Freeland.
Okay, Honorable Freeland offers that second. It is not at this time, let's give the floor to Honorable Edmund Yazi to present the legislation that was read into the record. Honorable Yazi, you have the floor.
Okay, thank you, Vice Chair. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Vice Chair and committee members, and also staff that read in the legislation into record, and then also to Mr. Daniels and Mr. Freeland for making the motion second. Committee members and everyone that's listening online or there in person, I want and asking for your support, committee members, on this legislation, which is in reference to our chapter members of Church Rock receiving electric for their residents. And when the legislation was read into record, it was indicated that all proper procedures was taken and all signatures was taken in place, which it results to this legislation. As you know, we've been talking about funding for water, broadband, and electric to our people, especially during the time with COVID. And so now that COVID is still among us and on the reservation. And so this would definitely help the membership there in Church Rock. Sundance is located just directly south of Fire Rock Casino. You have to go under the bridge of I-40, and that's within the jurisdiction of Church Rock. So I do not know if our agents are online. I do know that our chapter vice president may be online. And so I would, I don't know if they are online. I would like to give them the air times, airwaves. But committee members, please, I ask for your support on this legislation. Vice Chair?
Honorable Yazi for the presentation. So are there any agents to this legislation 0091-22 that are on the call with us? If so, identify yourself, introduce yourself, and we will allow you time to speak to the legislation. Anyone from chapter, officials or staff? At this time, I will open the floor to the committee members for questions, comments to the legislation. Shananda, Resource Development Committee. Are there any questions, comments for Mr. Yazi and the legislation?
Jay.
Honorable Freeland. Jay.
Jay.
Yes.
Thank you, Jay. Good morning. Honorable Yazi, good morning, and your agents as well. I just had a question. I don't know if our legal counsel is on the line. Is Mariana or anyone on the call? All right. I asked a question to them, to legal legislative counsel. In this legislation, it says to waive consent of the 13,000. It's asking for consideration of waiving of the full amount. And I thought we had already done a legislation previously prior to COVID in Lake Valley that allows utility companies such as Continental Divide or Haynes Mountain or Socorro or City of Farmington to have these waivers considered at 100% already prior to any legislation. So any legislation that would come forth in regards to rights of ways would already be automatically have that full 100% coverage of right of ways or waivers, excuse me. I don't know if our legislative council was aware of that, if that legislation would apply, because I was the one that sponsored it, and RDC did pass it at Lake Valley chapter prior to the pandemic. So, Ledge Council, I don't know if you were aware of that. That way, going forward further, any of these types of legislation that pertain to Eastern Navajo right-of-ways requests, there's already a legislation in place to give full 100% consideration of waiving for these utility companies. And it's just on trust land, of course. We can't do anything with allotments or private land, that's separate. But we did have that legislation already considered. So just a formality and a thought to think about future legislations for legislative council. Ejr, Chairman, Vice Chair, Jay, thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Freeland. Thank you for asking that question. So there needs to be some clarification. That is my understanding as well, as Honorable Freeland has stated about the waivers and for utility companies during this time. I'll call Khan from Office of Legislative Counsel. Are you on the call? Can you respond to that question?
Chairman Walker and members of the Resources and Development Committee, this is Mariana Khan. I am speaking to you from Winter Rock, and the question concerning the 100% consideration for the right of ways involving Eastern Navajo Land Agency and nonprofit electric companies. Yes, there is currently a resolution RDCF-08-20 that that provides for nonprofit electric utility companies that provide service to Navajo residents on Navajo Trust land in the Eastern Navajo Agency may be afforded 100% of the right-of-way consideration. And the approval of that legislation, yes, was done in February of 2020. The reason I put that language in the legislation that you are considering is so that the individuals who look at this legislation as it goes forward will see that that RDC has approved that particular 100% waiver of consideration. I put it in the legislation. I do that because the Bureau of Indian Affairs will eventually see this legislation, and they will do the paperwork for the legislation. And then in the legislation itself, it says 100%. I could put in the findings, I could also put that resolution number. I see that I did not put it in this particular one, but I have done it in the past. I put it in the approval section so that it is very clear all the way through to the Bureau of Indian Affairs that that resolution was passed. But I do understand your concern that it was already approved by the RDC in February of 2020 to allow this type of 100% right-of-way consideration to be waived. In the next resolution of this type, I could put it in the findings of the resolution and also attach the resolution RDCF-08-20. And my concern about putting it all in is that although the Resources and Development Committee knows that they have passed this resolution, and although I know that that the RDC has passed this resolution, the resolution itself goes to other entities and eventually to the BIA. And I just saw this as a clear way of making that statement as putting it in the findings. But to address your concerns and to recognize, yes, that RDC has already made this determination, in the next legislation of this type, I will put it, the resolution RDCF-08-20 into the legislation itself. But again, my concern was that when legislation goes forward and eventually is passed and is sent to the Bureau of Indian Affairs, that wording is very clear in the legislation itself. Mr. Vice Chair, I was just concerned with clarity down the road. And next time I will attach the approving RDC legislation from 2020 onto the resolution. That was just how I was dealing with it. Mr. Vice Chair, that's what I have to say on this particular topic. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Khan, Ejr, for the response there to the question. Although Honorable Freeland, is there a follow-up comment, statement, question?
Jay, thank you. And Ms. Khan, thank you. I just wanted to get some clarification and make sure that it was noted. I see under section E that it is, but just to have the information related to the waivering as well, the cost. I don't know how we can do this going forward, but you did specify that you would put it specifically in the findings. So I just want to make sure, I don't want to cause more confusion, but I just want to say that. Thank you much, Chairman, Vice Chair Jay.
Thank you, Honorable Freeland. Committee members, any other questions, comments to the legislation We are considering 0091-22. Committee members, comments, questions? If not, then we can certainly call for the question. Sunanda.
Mr.
No other
Vice
comments
Chair,
and questions.
Mr. Vice Chair.
Yes, yes.
This is Mariana Khan again. I would like, when we look at Exhibit A in this resolution is the terms and conditions of the legislation. And it says in the terms and conditions, Exhibit A, number 2, in Exhibit A that is attached to the legislation, it says on paragraph number 2, consideration for the right of way is assessed at $13,147.72. Then it goes on to say that this is due within 10 days of the approval of and consent to the grant of right of way. The next sentence says, if consideration has been waived, the Navajo Nation contributes the amount listed above. Okay, so in Exhibit A itself, it does not say that the consideration is 0. So when the BIA gets this terms and conditions, it will see that the Navajo Nation has assessed the right of way at 13,000 plus, unless it is in the resolution itself that there is a waiver. And that is my concern, is to be very, very clear. Because if perhaps we could ask the Minerals Department in the next situation to put 0 there, so that we don't have to write in the legislation and approve a waiver of consideration every single time. Because the exhibit itself that the Bureau of Indian Affairs will look at has the assessment of consideration at 13,000 unless it is waived. And that was my concern, to be very clear that the legislation itself has within the approval section that the Resources and Development Committee has affirmatively waived that 13,000 assessed consideration. It was just trying to make it very clear to the Bureau of Indian Affairs when it finally gets this resolution that the Resources and Development Committee has made a determination to waive in this circumstance. And if the Department of Minerals Department changes this particular Exhibit A such that 0 is in that line for consideration, then I won't have to put the language that it has already been waived. Mr. Vice Chair, back to you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Khan, for elaborating a little bit more on the clarification there. So again, back to the committee. Any other questions, comments? Before I call for the question. We will need to take a vote on this. I will go down the list. Chairman Nez, how do you vote?
Delegate Rick Nez.
Okay, Chairman Nez votes green. Honorable Key Allen Begay, how do you vote?
Delegate Keelan votes green, thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Begay. Honorable Mark Freeland, how do you vote?
Green.
Honorable Freeland votes green. Thank you, Jay. Honorable Herman Daniels, how do you vote?
Green.
Honorable Daniels votes green. Honorable Wilson, how do you vote?
Green, Cesar.
Honorable Stewart, okay, vote green. We have a vote of 5 in favor. Opposing, there are none. Vice Chair is not voting here. Motion carries. So RDC does have final authority here. Do you have any closing statements, Honorable Edmund Yazzie?
Yes, Vice Chair and committee members, I really appreciate your vote on this legislation, and make sure the membership knows that RDC approved this so they can get their electricity. So thank you, committee members and staff and everyone that's listening.
Thank you, Honorable Yazzie, for coming to the committee with the legislation, although having a discussion here. Clarifications get important for us to hear as well as the public. At this time, we'll have the gavel, and Chairman Nez has returned to our call, and I will give the gavel back to him. Gavel, Chairman, back to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Vice Chair Walker, for helping me as I gave a report to my chapter. Certainly appreciate my colleagues supporting each other in this manner from time to time. So again, now that we're done with new business, we'll go back to number 5, receiving reports. First on the list, we have a welcome address from Ejr chapter officials, Mr. Irvin Chavez. You have the floor, sir. You have 20 minutes.
Oh, gosh, I don't think it's concerning. Again, this morning, Chairman there. Freeland, Otto, RDC committee members, as I stated before, here in the Eastern Navajo, probably one of the Far East chapters, from the Arizona side, we have South City just to the north of it, the South City peak, about 10 miles. So even now, so it is here now either the Doyate, the Kuwait, or Lebanon, so Navigable chapter, the full-time staff like many other chapters. We have the CSC, Danny Simpson. This morning he had to deliver some documents to Window Rock, so he left. I know we have AMS, Siobhan Harrison. I know we have 3 other employees working for us here. They're all under the PEP program. Aubrey Hope is what person? Maintenance man Wallace Costello and Robinson Lewis. My point here is that we only have 2 full-time staff, so I would like to plug this into RDC one of these days. We'd sure like to have a maintenance man full-time. And we have a lot of expensive heavy equipment that was brought in within the last year and a half, 2 years. We do need a full-time maintenance person here at chapter's operation area. I just want to plug that in. Now, Eastern, we're sitting right next to 550, about 35 miles south of Bloomfield. In 550, to Albuquerque. Ako, kweb na siya ko siyeki aja. Na yeza, snake kweb. Nagay kudos na naho kwesyo kunchi about 3 miles along 550 kweb. Sali aja a kid. Inda no aja bagavanawa siya ko. Plant hashik eki na yeza na no you cannot just in this flat area. And Asia Banacha is not like the Shitokia. Asia Ade Nakamenda consequence in Yakan.com. Asia Quake, I guess it grew like a wild plant. I don't because a post office next to 550. ADK Banacha, I know the color was gate on this, I know the gate on this. No, they just picked up the name Naizi for the post office. Even we're known as Naizi in Mexico, Naizi chapter. 1953 it's a chapter Leon. That's the same year I was born, by the way. I was looking at it. 1953, so the chapter and I are the same age. I was just thinking about any. Corny fish on any course freelance a response and then Leche President Ruben Chavez. I don't need Rushatai Rory Hackett, a Vice President. I don't Shadi so Jessica Patero. She's the Secretary Treasurer to aid Pendaba, so she's other days now, even now, what is the she's recuperating, but she's fine. It was I only to this party sham. I don't have any case so a senior citizen, a lie kudo pseudo signage every day. In this region, I think we're probably the more active senior center in this region, from counselor all the way through orphanal. But I don't have a home delivery, so nothing. Just to the south of that, a Head Start program. We do have an operating Head Start program. They only serve about, I think, 8 or 9 the Head Start teachers. But we're operating and able to point niche. I could think where a chapter 8 years no Katna to make many could on Nani Kato to either in zone a quarter 8 over nature. I call General chapter 8 that we need. I don't think quite that one. Maybe we got a compliment earlier that it's I say it's neat. The compliment goes to the staff. Staffing Kenyatta Ziado inside. I had that we not enjoy away. But I can now the chapter is probably one of the 3 larger chapters in Eastern Naval Agency. 31 chapters, you know, that's it. Council don't get 31. Mark Freeland, 31 chapters. I know. We're probably about the 3 larger chapters geographically, workable, and Naive are probably the biggest in Eastern Naval. But I don't put it all. I know, and our audience also is Jessica, she's a former chapter secretary. Her name was accidentally put on the agenda, but she continues to work with us. She's part of the planning committee. Also here is Delora, so Ado, Lorraine, Rafael, so they're very active planning committee members, and they're here with us today. Delora, Delora, the best and then long 20 years, Henry Six was game there. She continues to be very involved with the chapter and stuff like that. So we serve, we're proud to have Mr. Jesus served our chapter for 20 years here at Navigable. Very supportive in the chapter 80. But again, we welcome this committee anytime you want to come out and meet and co-initiate it. Staff is bringing in some food for us, for you, committee members. आज के समय को नाइगे से खेला खोलिए खाना खोलिए so it could have about all so again we're very proud to have to be your host today.
Thank you, Mr. Chavez. You have this year Vice President would like to say add to welcome address. Mr. Hawkins.
Yeah, Chairman Rick Nez, RDC Auto Committee. Auto Shisto, Kat, Sheila, like Tano Yahagis, Joatan, the Auto, Atanil, the Fago Kat, Tano Kagi. The Anina in the chapter, we certainly do support the various Navajo Nation committees. Auto, we support our not only this chapter, but our surrounding chapters. Buffalo, Counselor, Lake Valley, White Rock, Ada. We like to get things done. We certainly do support our Navajo Nation departments. We have a belief that we work with our departments and that's a way to get things done. And again, Rory Hopkins, Chapter Vice President. I was once asked what my job description was as a Chapter Vice President. And I've often thought about it. And the best way to describe my job description is to support our Chapter President here at NAISI, to support our Secretary Treasurer, to support our community members, and also to support our various Navajo Nation departments. It's a critical role and it's a vital role with all the chapters. But it's important to remember that the Vice President, such as myself, is here to support the initiatives of the chapter and to assist to make things happen. Otto, Mr. Chavez pretty much summed it up, said it all as far as a brief history of the chapter and how we operate here and a little bit of our needs. So, Chairman Nez, that will be my brief report. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Hawkins. You can tell when you go to a community, a chapter, just the welcoming effect. And that's the and Nagis is like that. I feel very honored when I come here. And thank you, Laura Jesus, for being here. I know you care about your community, your people, and you're really speaking out. And folks, the Ilocos are also speaking out for themselves, which is good. I was very fortunate and glad to travel with you all to Washington, D.C. on their behalf. And hopefully we can continue to advocate on your behalf here. I guess I need that on Nepal, and what Mr. Chavez has spoke about here. I know Mr. Chavez has been an excellent leader for this community. You can tell when leaders are focused on the community, things get done. And I see that here. And it's good. And also, as Mr. Hackett says, we support the staff here, support each other as elected officials. That's the way it should be. And then you support your community members all three works together in unity. Oh, yeah, it's okay. So thank you for your welcome address. Is there anything that you would like to add, Mr. Travis? Okay, I'm going to give the floor to Delora Jesus. Let her introduce herself.
Hello, everyone. I'm glad you guys all came out. You're welcome to our chapter. And my name is Delora Jesus. Hawaiian, like Mike said. And I just want to stress out, yes, I really, really want to thank you, your committee, for taking, aware or helping us out with our situation with the allottees. For a while there, we didn't have anybody, like we've been saying for the last few years, that we were totally ignored. Even though we went down to Chaco, they had their presentation on April 14th, and we were totally ignored. Then we followed them to Santa Fe. We're totally ignored again too on April 15th with the congressional leaders there. So I just would really like to express my, thanks for you guys representing us and coming out and having, the RDC support us in our issues. So thank you again, everybody, for coming out. Yeah.
Thank you, Delora. Samantha, I'd like to have a motion and a second to accept the report as well as the welcome address. Honorable Freeland, motions. Second by. Is there a second? None.
Daniel, second. Daniel.
Thank you. If you need to get some more coffee, help yourself too. Any comments or questions for chapter officials here? Honorable Freeland.
Chairman, thank you. Mr. Travis, Mr. Hopkins, Mr. Carroll, Mr. Simpson, who's not here. I just want to say thank you too to them, the officials and the administration team. It's been a whirlwind time during COVID, and seeing what they've done. This chapters remain open during COVID and operational during COVID, like many of our chapters. And I just want to say thank you to them for keeping the chapter open and providing essential services to the people during that time. And then to Ms. Jesus and all the allottees as well. And I'm sorry I had to excuse myself, but it was the president calling me. He never called me in a time like this, but President Nez gave me a call out of the blue. Just thinking about April, that day in April, and when I first met Delora and all the allottees down there, and I always remember standing on the side watching the presentation in that visitor center, and then noticing in the back, all the allottees were in the back. I knew they were Navajo because I could tell a Navajo from C1. They're not Pueblo, but all the leadership, all the spotlight, everything was garnered to the Pueblo leadership. The Navajo, the Gitan, and it was one of those situations where I kind of got put in a spot myself. I didn't want to take. I wanted to speak for myself. I didn't want to take any side for that day. And the presentation that was given by where that day had one of my name on it. I was like, what? I didn't agree to that. But what I witnessed that day, I will always remember, because exactly what Delora said was accurate. And from that day forward, taking it back to Chairman and taking it back to RDC, telling you what happened at Chaco and how we need to support the allottees. And I just want to say thank you too, Shanta, for your support from that day forward, because You know, coming here, we had these listening sessions here, we had 3 listening sessions here in this gym. And then most recently, last week with the BLM on this work session. You know, I was talking to the president about that day. And the next day, apparently, he went to Albuquerque. I don't know if any of you got the chance to go to Albuquerque and listen to him speak. But he was talking about Secretary Holland's 10-mile buffer. And the proposal that Navajo made was 5 miles. But since there's no agreement or there's no consolidation, maybe we should just consider having no buffer at all. So that's his feedback. So this can get really interesting from this point on, because you know, the Department of Interior just doesn't seem to want to listen or want to sit down with us and listen to our side. It's more geared towards another side. Other tribes have more influence on the Department of Interior at this point. And Navajo is really being left out. And it's really unfortunate that's the case, but that's what's happening. And it's because of that day, going back to April again, how our Navajo Alachis were just completely ignored and shunned and moved aside, not given the light or the time of day. And it's now happening to us as leadership. We're not given that same recognition. We're not given that same opportunity to speak. And we haven't had an opportunity to speak to the Department of Interior Secretary herself. You know, she continues to avoid us. She doesn't want to meet with us now. That's really unfortunate because, you know, going back to the White House and going back to the Biden administration, when we were in DC, we met with them. We met with the White House officials. And we told them specifically, you all have a policy now in place that will adequately state that you have adequate consultation with tribes. That's not being applied or that's not being demonstrated right now to this point, whether it's at the White House level or whether it's at the Department of Interior level. You know, that's not happening. And you bring it back to this level here. This is where it all begins. This is where it all began, right here in this community, as well as other communities, but specifically here, and what we'll see this afternoon. And you know, it's really unfortunate that things are going this way because a lot of influence is being made by other groups, other outside entities, environmental groups or NGOs. You know, they have a lot of influence on the Department of Interior and the federal government, the BLM, whatever you're saying. You know, it's like a one-sided affair. One side is only being heard at this point, not the other side. There's always 2 sides to a story. And the second part of the story is not being heard, and that's our Navajo Latis. And that's what's really unfortunate about this whole situation. And it's almost like a injustice or unjust situation for them. And, you know, for me, like I said, it's not about oil and gas, it's about our people. And it's a people issue more right now than anything. They need to be heard. They really need to be heard. And that consideration needs to be heard by Secretary Holland herself, because she went out to Chaco and made this announcement, and yet she still refuses to sit down and give our people the time of day at this moment. And that's what's hard about this whole situation. And we tried tracking her down and having a meeting with her when we went to Washington, German, and they didn't want to meet with us. You know, and it's like when we had that meeting with that White House official, it's like we brought it up, and it's like it went in one ear and out the other, and we haven't heard a response as of yet to that meeting. And you know, it's all one-sided. And how can we give that time to our people? How can we stand up for our people even more? And it might get a little bit more interesting from this point on, because you know, if an administrative decision is made, a policy is set forth, then what? Then we're going to have to maybe look at, you know, are we going to look at litigation? Are we going to look at other means? What are we going to do? Because this is not right. This is absolutely not right. Unless you know specifically, you've been here, you've talked to the Alachis, you understand what happened, you understand the position from that day in April through to now. You understand how this is it's not right, it's not fair. It's so one-sided right now. And that's what's hard to fathom. And our people are we're getting a raw deal on our side as Navajo. So Ejr Chairman want to bring that up again. And I'm glad the president mentioned that, because he spoke at Albuquerque about it again, understand. And it was brought up by one of the speaker staff too, and she did confirm that. So I don't know how many of you were there that day, but he apparently said that in front of all the public leadership too. So, but hats off to the president for standing up like that too. But, hey, the chairman, I just want to mention that. Say thank you again, and thank you to the leadership and to the lot. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Honorable Freeland. I would like to just mention that our committee, Resource and Development Committee, is here to support you wholeheartedly. And that's why we come out here. Each one of them, we all oversee 110 chapters, and all the different chapters and agencies have different issues, but we try our best to serve our communities and the great Navajo Nation. So on behalf of RDC, Honorable Vice Chair Walker, Honorable Kealan McGay, Honorable Herman Daniels, Honorable Mark Freeland, Honorable Stewart, and myself, we are here to support you. Just let us know how we can be of assistance to the allottees here. So thank you, Mr. Chavez, Mr. Hawkins, as well as Ms. Jesus. Thank you very much for your time. So now, honorable members of RDC, do you have any other comments or questions? Honorable Freeland,
can I give a little bit of time to Mr. Hawkins, if that's okay? Actually, go ahead, Roy.
Honorable Freeland, you're welcome to go ahead and request time for Mr. Hawkins. Mr. Hawkins, you have the floor, sir.
Thank you, Delegate Freeland. Thank you, Chairman. I wanted to mention one final comment. Mr. Chavez made a very important comment about COVID. You know, he mentioned that our chapter was open for the past 2 years. A lot of activity happened here at this chapter regarding COVID and how we dealt with it. I know that Mr. Chavez caught COVID. I think he caught it twice. I caught it, and also many of our chapter officials throughout the Navajo Nation, and also our chapter staff. They caught COVID, but thank God we're able to get over it. And I also know that some of our chapter officials around the Navajo Nation did catch COVID, and they passed from COVID. So it's important to recognize them, to remember them, that a lot of activity happened at our chapters across the Navajo Nation during COVID. And our chapter officials, our community, and our chapter staff were impacted. Mr. Nez, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hawkins. We certainly appreciate your wholehearted effort, even though you knew the risk, you were there. You don't think of anything else other than them, your community members. So I'm glad you did that, and I'm glad that you're all doing well. I believe that we can all pray for each other and have this thing blown over at some point. So thank you, Mr. Hawkins. Any other comments or questions, honorable members of RDC? None. We'll go ahead and vote to accept the report. Honorable Vice Chair Walker, how do you vote?
Chairman, I vote green.
Thank you. Honorable Gay? Honorable Gay? Honorable Daniels?
Green.
Thank you. Honorable Freeland? Green. Honorable Freeland votes green. Honorable Stewart?
Green, Chairman.
Thank you, Honorable Stewart. Honorable Gay? We have a vote of 4 in favor, 0 opposed. Chair not voting, motion carries. We will accept the report. Thank you. We're on B, report from the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers on their organization, approach, and the program itself. Presenter will be Mr. Robert Andrew Savage. He's their program and project management lead, Navajo Nation Program Manager, U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. Mr. Robert Andrew Savage, you have the floor. 20 minutes, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. As I appreciate it, Vice Chair Walker and committee members. I appreciate this opportunity to present the program. I just wanted to ask to make sure that you do have the slides that I sent over. I do not have access to your Zoom at this time. Over.
Could you please repeat yourself, sir?
Sure. Do you by chance have the slides that I sent over to Mr. Tehi? Should be about 7 slides.
Yes, we do. Thank you. You may proceed.
Thanks, sir. So if I could direct you to the second slide, what I'm going to do is just kind of give you an overview of the Corps of Engineers. I'm assuming that most of you probably know about our agency and what we do, but I just wanted to briefly go over a couple things and let you know where we're at from the Navajo Nation program perspective. So the Corps of Engineers, I guess for lack of a better term, is our nation's engineer, right? So we do a lot of work, not only for our Department of Defense agencies, Air Force, Army, Navy. We also work with other federal agencies to help them with their infrastructure needs. We build hospitals for the Veterans Administration. We build clinics for Indian Health Services. We do other things. We build schools for different agencies. So, and we also partner with state, county, and local governments with flood risk management and ecosystem restorations needs. And we also can support tribes, right? And that's one of the missions that we feel that we want to grow. We have a command directive from our commander at San Francisco to help grow this program. And so that's what we're doing, and that's why we're discussing this with you today. Next slide 3, the TNTCX overview. So as part of that, a few years ago, through the Albuquerque district, we stood up the Tribal Nations Technical Center of Expertise. So this center is started with one person, and with Dr. Kneebone, and has grown into a team. I think there's about 15 of us now supporting this program, and it's growing even more still. And so is the mission. Now, we do a lot of different things. Remains repatriation, cultural communication, ethnographic studies, tribal oral history. We've got a traditional ecological knowledge program starting up. But also what we're really trying to do at the moment is leverage the Corps of Engineers' expertise in planning, design, and construction, and look for partnership opportunities with tribes throughout the nation. Moving on to the next slide. So in an effort to directly support the Navajo Nation, the South Pacific Division, out of our San Francisco division office, and the supporting districts in Los Angeles, Albuquerque, and Sacramento, have created a Navajo Nation program to directly support the Navajo Nation with any infrastructure need that comes about. And as part of that, the Albuquerque district was asked to take the lead, and the Tribal Nations Technical Center is under the Albuquerque district, so the fit was better under our organization. But as you know, you've got a tremendously large geographic area, and we've got several different districts that are supporting you. And I think Crystal, Dr. Tilico Cordova is on the phone. She deals with us on a regular basis and recognizes and sees how sometimes complicated this can be, because you're not really sure who to speak to when a specific issue comes up regarding an active project or a proposed project. So there we created the program to be the one door to the Corps, you have that one person or group of people that you can contact at any time if you need infrastructure support. So the next slide, slide 5, kind of wanted to give you a real brief overview of where we're at with the program. So the program has actually been stood up for about a year, and it's been, there was some, I guess, clumsiness coming out of the gate with the program, and communicating the priorities for the program. But I think we're starting to get our feet under us now. Moving the program under the Tribal Nations Center has been tremendously helpful, and is able to provide some focus and administration support and leadership that we were kind of lacking. So in the upper left-hand corner, you're going to see the program update priorities. This is an update that we've shown to Delegate Begay and others. And I just wanted to share this with your team. So the communication piece. Really, we're trying to emphasize that this program is here to help, mostly to help facilitate communication, right? To keep things moving. Give you an example. Tohatchee chapter put in a request for a potential new project nearly a year ago, frankly. And I, as the program manager, did not find out about it until a couple months ago, but a representative from the Tohatchee chapter was able to call me directly to let me know what was going on. And then I was able to jump in and help fix this communication. And to the point we're meeting next week on site to help them hopefully move forward a new project. But really, it's that one point of communication that's so very valuable in this to ensure that that everything is moving forward as it should be. Collaboration. So one of the things we're having a little difficulties moving forward, but we're still trying, right? We're not giving up on this, is to try to figure out ways that we can help with the Fiscal Recovery Fund Office and all those federal funds that have come into the tribe to help support programs and projects for the people that need them, right? And we completely recognize it's a very noble program, but it's really, frankly, enormous, and it would be difficult for any organization to be able to execute. And so we would like to offer that we help out with that program, or you could reach out to us to partner if there's an opportunity, and if you feel that you need support, but we're here to help on that. And really to also develop a greater relationship with the chapters. That has been critical, and I've personally made some contacts with some chapter members on a roadway project over at N9402, and it was a tremendous conversation we've had, and frankly, I wish we would have had them sooner. But we're starting to increase our relationship and our communication with the chapters. So the commitment part is, without question, it's one of the things, frankly, that I take very, very personal, and it's turning around projects and programs very quickly. Having things languish, frankly, for a year is unacceptable. We recognize that. That's one of the things that this program is trying to tackle, to hold our own internal folks accountable and get things moving forward. And then the last C there is the construction part. So we have executed several studies with the Navajo Nation, mostly with Department of Water Resources. And studies are great. They have a lot of value. We have hydraulic studies and mapping efforts that we can move forward. But the real effort here we'd like to see move forward in a greater capacity is our design and construction expertise. It's a really phenomenal opportunity for both our organizations to be able to leverage one of the largest engineering organizations in the world to help directly support the Navajo Nation with your design and construction needs. So we really would like to see something move forward. It's one of our directives from our commander in San Francisco, Colonel Gant, and so we would like to explore better opportunities to actually start moving dirt. In the bottom left-hand corner is kind of what we have active ongoing with you now. I won't get into the acronyms, they're really unimportant, except for the fact that I would like to point out that all of those, or most of those efforts, are simply studies. They are, like I said earlier, they're valuable. They do provide product that can be very, very useful to the end users with hydraulics and mapping and other things. But the only project on here that could potentially move forward with construction is that one that says CAP. That's our Continuing Authorities Program. We do have one project we'd like to kick off with Crown Point, and Crystal has helped leading us on, partnering and leading us that effort with us. And that's the one that actually could move forward with construction. That 100,000 is just some initial federal funds for study, but that really could be upwards of a $15 million construction project, cost shared with the tribe to do some good flood protection work there at Crown Point. The way ahead, I won't necessarily go through and read those to you, but just let you know we're working on a number of things to bring this program home. Partnership agreements with this interagency agreement is going to be very important as we move forward with one of the programs I'm going to talk to you about here in a second. And then we've got a program management plan that we're kind of stalled on. We're waiting to have some new direction on this. Specifically, we're looking at potentially partnering with Navajo Nation to bring a tribal member onto our team to work directly with us in a partnership role and help lead the effort to finish that program management plan and to effectively be the Navajo Nation program manager. So we're very, very excited about that. Dr. Kneebone and some of our other leadership are working that effort at a higher level. I'm not exactly sure where it's at, but that could be phenomenal for the program. We're all very excited about it. The way ahead. So we're continuing to improve our processes, talent improvement. So that's kind of bringing those right people in. I mentioned that with the potential Navajo Nation tribal staff member. And then the accountability, having regular meetings with everybody, to including what appears to be an ongoing regular meeting with Delegate Begay, to ensure that we're keeping everybody honest in this and moving forward in this accountability process. So next slide, 6. So we have really two main branches of support that we can provide. One is civil works. So all those projects that were kind of identified with the dollar amounts on the other page, those are all civil works projects. They're going to mostly be ecosystem restoration, flood risk management. If they move beyond a certain dollar amount, they're cost shared. I think most of those monies you saw there, though, are 100% so far, 100% federally funded. So it's come from U.S. Treasury funds. But as projects grow, especially into design and construction and more advanced feasibility studies, they will need to be cost shared. And the cost share is very, very favorable to tribes. Not so much for the city of Los Angeles or Sacramento, but they have the money anyhow. So, and then the next one, which I think is a real phenomenal opportunity, and I think we need to, as collectively as a partnership group, kind of take a look at this. It's the Interagency and International Support Program. We have previously executed some projects with the Navajo tribe on housing and other facilities within tribal lands under this program. It's been a while. Frankly, it's been lost out of some recent memory. But it's a really good opportunity for us to do really anything that is infrastructure. If it can be built, the Corps of Engineers can get involved and execute that project under this program. So, I have a list down here with roads, bridges, senior centers. I mean, it really is just anything that can be built. So just leave it at that. There might be some exceptions, but we have an amazing group of professionals all over the country, all over the world, that we can lead into expertise if we don't necessarily have it here in the South Pacific Division, which is probably not going to be the case. We have a lot of folks. We have several thousand just working directly in this region. But certainly, if there's some specialty item, we can reach out and find people to do it. Now this program, though, is 100% reimbursable, and that's why I think it's so good for the Fiscal Recovery Fund office program, is because those funds are already sitting there. And if there's projects that you'd like to partner with us on, there you fund us whole cloth from start to finish on those. So any effort that we work on, we bring no additional federal funds. Now we can spend the federal funds that are there setting in the Navajo Treasury, but we cannot bring any additional federal funds. But still, it's a good way for the Corps of Engineers to, in a partnership perspective, to really add a lot of staff potential to Navajo tribal activities. So if you think of us that way as just being kind of a force multiplier, I guess we come on and we're part of your team to execute. And I kind of mentioned the Fiscal Recovery Office down at the bottom there. And one of the things we can do, I was looking through the I think it was the what was the name of it? Sorry, Budget and Finance Committee, BFS 3121. It was a resolution, and in that resolution, there's some guidance on how to apply for some of these fiscal recovery funds. One of the services we can do under IAS is if a chapter or another organization within Navajo Nation has a project idea that they would like to advocate for their communities with fiscal recovery funds, but they maybe don't have the technical expertise to be able to budget and schedule one of these projects, to scope it as well, then what we could do is look at an opportunity to come in and help that organization fill out these forms, come in, send a team in to do an assessment of the infrastructure need, develop a quick budget, a schedule, and that information really will help fill out this form and help that project potentially be more competitive for those fiscal recovery funds. So that's one thing we see it an opportunity here from a partnership perspective to be able to help if the help is wanted. Next slide is our last slide, and it's just the contact information. So I'd like everybody, if there's, I'm sure everyone's probably knows or aware of Dr. Kneebone. He's our senior member and our director and our leader and our guide. Certainly his information is there. Always feel free to contact him. Our deputy director, Mike Federoff, is out of our Alabama office. He is always there as well. But from a program management person, the person that's supposed to be responsible for being the belly button for the Corps of Engineers to be able to make contacts with all the tribal elements of the Navajo Nation, that's me. So I'm the TNTCX program manager. I'm also the Navajo Nation program manager in the interim until we can figure out a different solution, hopefully with a Navajo tribal member. But please feel free to reach out to me with any questions you may have regarding any of our programs or ways that we might be able to support the Navajo Nation. That's all I have, pending any questions today. Over.
Thank you very much, Mr. Savage, for the presentation. Honorable members of RDC, let's have a motion and a second. Honorable Freeland, motions. Is there a second?
Stewart.
Honorable Stewart, thank you. Any comments, questions? None, I don't get it. Mr. Savage, I do have a question.
Oh, yes, go ahead.
The Navajo Nation would like to build a dam to capture water coming from Shanto. This is in northeastern Arizona. Watershed comes from Shanto through Kayenta, Denahocho, and back down into San Juan River. And then when it rains a lot of water that comes down also from Noslany to Chinley, Mini Farms, Round Rock, Rock Point, and then back towards San Juan River where they converge. The one coming in from Denahocho and from Rock Point. Right in that location somewhere, we would like to have a meeting in the near future and start planning now to have a dam resource and development committee. Was out on the Navajo Nation on a drought tour. And one of the things that we've learned is water is just running off the nation, going back into the river. We're losing a lot of water. We're not capturing any. And we would like to start planning on it, even though it may take 30 years to build it. But if we start now, in 30 years, we should have a dam and water for our people in that area there. So is this something that the Army Corps of Engineer would assist the Navajo Nation with? Or do you just work with the New Mexico part of the state?
No, sir, we can help you directly with planning and strategizing for ways to get that done. We do have some the Corps of Engineers has historically built dams all over the country for all types of different organizations. We have not, the one thing about Corps of Engineers dams typically is they've been for flood control. Now, a lot of them have held a lot of water too, and we've seen it for navigation and flood control. So it sounds like this is probably for drinking water. Maybe there's an ecosystem restoration part of this too, to bring habitat, aquatic habitat back into an area. I think there's a really good opportunity there. But certainly there's a couple things we can talk about, either doing this through a cost share perspective, which is kind of what the 65-35 going planning, design, and construction, and then we can work together to develop a solution that way. Or if there's an opportunity to either get grant funds or other types of monies pulled together, that this is something we might be able to help you out directly with. That means the Navajo Nation, either through whatever vehicle funds, directly funds the Corps of Engineers to plan this for you, design it for you, and to construct it for you. And then when I say we, I mean we collectively together as a team. So through every step of every process that we do, our partner, in this case, the Navajo Nation, is there with us. So just keep that in mind. If you send something to us, we don't just run off on our own and start working it. This is a true partnership, and we take that piece seriously. Over.
Thank you. Honorable Begay, you have the floor.
Chairman, I appreciate the Mr. Savage. Good morning. Appreciate the report. Chairman, again, this is a preliminary report. I do believe that we really need to coordinate to have a sit-down overall discussion, again, focusing on the situation on the Navajo Nation and what resource is available from the Army Corps. If you look at the map, that's I believe it's slide 4. You know that there's a Sacramento district, there's a Los Angeles district, and then there's an Albuquerque district. And I believe there's a purpose of by these districts, the Navajo Nation is divided up into 3. And right off the bat, for my area, I got to deal with 2 districts, which is Sacramento and Los Angeles. But Albuquerque is much closer. If we were to sit down with Albuquerque right now, I mean, we won't have any input directly coming from the other district, the Sacramento and the Los Angeles. And I believe that's the main reason why that we need to schedule maybe a one day that we get report directly from each of these districts. And also in working with the Navajo Nation Department of Agriculture, Water Management, what major projects are still there. As you know that, we've been did a tour a year ago. The drought issue. I mean, I believe that still is in existence, and I think this is a prime time to really fix up a lot of these earthen dam. Now, the one thing that I believe that the Navajo Nation and RDC really needs to take the lead is the watershed in every part of the Navajo Nation. And obviously, for my area, the central part of the Navajo Nation, which is probably covered under the Sacramento district. Now, this is a preliminary, official, on-record report that is given to the Navajo Nation RDC. In each of the region of the 24 council, which area really needs to be worked on. And then this watershed project, and the other individual that probably will be involved are the EPA, the DOR, Department of the Interior, Bureau of Reclamations, I'm sure counties and the state needs to be at the table as well to discuss the overall situation on the Navajo Nation. According to as an oversight of Division of the Natural Resource, I think they're doing a preliminary visit to the Navajo Nation on the 23rd, the week of the 23rd, and I'm not sure if that's still scheduled. But that this will be just only a visit by the Albuquerque, but we need a visit by the Sacramento and also by the Los Angeles district. And I believe if we're talking about water, the flowing of waters, as you know, that in the midst of the Navajo Nation on the Arizona side, we have the Hopi Reservation. So if there's water that's going to flow through the Navajo Nation, to the Hopi Reservation and flows back out on the southern part of the Navajo Nation, I believe that I'm not sure if Hopi needs to be at the table as well to resolve a lot of these issues. AML, Abandoned Mine Land Office, you know that Mr. Daisy and Mr. Yazi is very instrumental in helping us in certain engineering aspect of the situation. Chairman. So how it's very much easier for a larger area, and I know that the Albuquerque Army Corps of Engineering office has a big space as well. I don't know if they'll be able to accommodate much larger people to be in attendance to discuss this particular issue. I think that we really need to detail the program that we need to have them initiate, share information that they are truly working on a lot of these watershed issue and other repairing earthen dam and even how is it that the Army Corps be able to help the Navajo Nation maybe through some funding and other additional resource at the chapter level, because there's smaller pockets of projects that flood controls needs to be done, and I believe the Army Corps I don't know if it was from Albuquerque, is aware of the situation of several years that during the time when many farms had a flood situation in the north part of the community. Vinyach Internet Benoyat Etolesen Chairman. So I advise and request that we put this maybe at the next agenda of when the Army Corps would say that all three districts and other higher up from maybe DC level, even our congressional delegation staff that represents each of the state district to be part of these meetings, because a lot of these effort that we need help for support is from the congressional level as well. Based on if they only conclude to certain position, that's where we go to the Congress and our legislature to say that, well, we need this, but your policy says this. Because only quite a bit that Ecuador from our end, obviously the Congressman O'Halloran, Senator Sinema, and Senator Kelly. Then New Mexico, and then the Utah portion. So I believe that there's a better, greater effort that could be done. But Chairman, I think that maybe one or two more meetings sooner with the Army Corps, with the RDC, and then we can explore out into hosting a bigger meetings if needs to be. But I just don't want to continue just do meetings, but we really need to have action activities happening on the Navajo Nation with the support, because I know they have bigger, broader schedule across the United States that they got to tend to as well. So when will they have time or schedule to be and do all these resource or some other services on the Navajo Nation? So request a Chairman.
Thank you, Honorable Gay. We did approve an in-person meeting, but on that day that we had approved, Navigable is scheduled for that same day. So we're going to have to move certain days around, and also when U.S. Army Corps of Engineers is available to come on to Navajo to have this in-person meeting with leadership. So, Mr. Tai, would you like to add anything?
Chair, members of RDC, I just wanted to expound on the approved meeting. Delegate Begay, if you recall, you did send an email out to the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers to present to the Resource and Development Committee. And I did reach out to them. We made the first initial connection. They did indicate that at the time that month was not available. So as the time progressed, I did follow up with them, and they did agree to present today regarding their program, or what they do, and the opportunities that they provide. As Chairman did indicate, we did approve an in-person leadership meeting with the U.S. Cooperative Engineer, and that date was on May 4th. So I'm still moving forward with those approved meetings. I am just rearranging RDC's June calendar to accommodate all the meetings that RDC approved. Back to you, Chairman.
Thank you. Yeah. Honorable members of RDC, any other comments or questions?
Chairman Thomas Walker.
Honorable Vice Chair Walker, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee, although the staff and the audience that we have today. They're in person, and those that are on the call, everyone, all the offices, agencies, programs, departments, and divisions, as well as our Navajo people that are on the call from their homes or wherever they are. Thank you for this time, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate the report provided by the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, the gentleman that provided the report. Appreciate the information, and always helps to get that information, always helps to be educated constantly re-educated if necessary. I sit here in full appreciation to the agency. And I want to speak to my leaders here, as well as Army Corps and BIA, Navajo Nation. As you all know, I represent the communities where the river, Little Colorado River, flows in and out of the nation. What they call the LCR Valley and communities there, the coal mine community, Cameron, Loop, Bird Springs community, Ada. Okay. Although the river doesn't flow year round, I wish it did, but it doesn't. Only when we receive a fair amount of precipitation and the higher elevations around us do we get water into the river. But when it does, then it poses numerous challenges. So, committee members, I know that you are aware of some of our challenges and sometimes dilemmas there dealing with our river and the conditions that we get into during snowfall or rainfall. Well, we have over the years called for declared states of emergencies for our communities, our families, our elders, children, and our schools. So recently, so we're also border communities to City of Flagstaff and City of Winslow. So most recently, City of Winslow had publicized the beginning start of the project, the Winslow Levee, and I understand that it's going to be a big project for the Armored Corps of Engineers and the City of Winslow, and of course the county. I call it Navajo Nation. I would say is a primary stakeholder in that project because of the land that we hold title and deed, hold title to lands right north of Winslow, all the way back to the reservation boundary line. So tens of thousands of acres we are owners of. So, most recently, the committee and the Office of the President and Navajo Nation, we paid a visit down there to see, to tour the site where there will be a future farm project. So that, where that location of that farm project, not too far from there, towards the east is the Little Colorado River. So levee projects, we will eventually be supported by that project, or would ultimately be protected by that project. Our interest there. Levee project. So I just wanted to raise that point to say we are a stakeholder in that big project there in the City of Winslow. Because I think even just to have a conversation or a meeting on that would be certainly beneficial and would be in the interest of Navajo Nation. So just wanted to make that point there. Although of course along the river in Bird Springs there is flooding occurring just consistently year after year. Part of the west end of Bird Springs, or the east part of Loop, or some kind of embankments that were developed decades ago. So, there is a situation there that we keep an eye on. That embankment goes, then water will eventually get into the where the residents are, old Loop So Ada, we sure need some attention from tribal officials as well as the leadership that are on the call this morning here, and the agency, EIA, and even IHS, so the Army Corps, so Bureau of Reclamation, all these agencies. So before, years ago, no one's really called attention to this area as things were okay. The embankment stood up, and right now it's like, okay, erosion is occurring fast, and pretty soon we'll have a situation on our hand that we don't want. So I thought I'd raise this issue because it's important to constantly have a really good working relationship with the federal agencies on behalf of Navajo Nation, of course, the communities. So I appreciate the report here. I thought I'd inject this into the discussion or the report. Focus isn't on our area, but I think in general, you get the idea that across Navajo Nation, the Army Corps is probably everywhere. I want to get that statement, and it's a good understanding that support is there from the federal government. The federal government can continue to provide resources. USDA is great at providing agricultural resources. Certainly, the BIA does what it can with their areas of responsibility. The IHS is amazingly great how they provide 24/7, healthcare. And then these other agencies, it's just the same. So sitting here just in appreciation of that, and in my areas that I represent, the needs that exist today, and looking forward, looking down the road, we will continue to have these meetings, chairman, those committee members. Just have one question, Mr. Chairman, committee members, to the report that was given, Mr. Savage, you and others. As far as the America Recovery Plan Act funding, did the agency get anything specific for that? And for Indian country or Navajo country, reference to the ARPA funding, I'm just thinking, okay, each agency did get funding, but when it comes to Navajo, leadership likes to, we want to know how much is dedicated, how much is obligated for our area. And of course, that's our job. So, Chairman, my question, my comment, and back to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Vice Chair Walker, for your comments. Certainly makes you ponder over the things that we have on the nation, our waters just run off the nation. We really do need to have an in-person meeting for engineers. I've had that tour from Mons Lady, Mckinley, Many Farm, Round Rock Point to Denahocho, and from Shanto through Kayenta, as well as Denahocho, where the two waters converge and go back into the river. We would like for the Army Corps of Engineers to see that. Mr. Savage, anything you'd like to respond to, sir?
Well, I would like to say that the program that we've stood up, having me as kind of the lead as program manager, hopefully that fixes some of the issues with having the 3 different districts. So you don't necessarily need to call Sacramento or Los Angeles district or even Albuquerque district. You can call me directly, and I'll help facilitate that communication regardless of which district's boundary it falls under. We're here to support Navajo Nation, and we want to make sure that these communication issues that have been in the past are solved the best we can. We've got a lot of capability. We've got a big program, but we can help you at a much greater level, or we support each other really at a much greater level with all kinds of infrastructure needs. I would fully support a larger in-person meeting. I believe that Albuquerque could probably host that, and if we need to try to get congressional representatives, federal congressional representatives at that meeting, we'll do our best to at least get them or their staffers. And then certainly a much larger contingent from the Navajo Nation, and have leadership hopefully from all 3 districts there. We can have a much bigger meeting if that's requested and needed, and I think it probably is. Over.
Thank you, Mr. Savage. Honorable members of RDC, it's 12 o'clock, it's lunchtime. So we're gonna have to keep moving on. Just ask that you go ahead and vote on this report. We'll have a scheduled in-person meeting with U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. Thank you. Honorable Vice Chair Walker, how do you vote, sir?
Chairman, I vote green.
Thank you. Honorable Gay? Honorable Gay sent in his message, his vote is green. Honorable Daniel sent in his text message as green votes as well. Honorable Freeland? Green. Honorable Stewart? Honorable Stewart? We have a vote of 4 in favor, 0 opposed, you're not voting, motion carries. I'm going to accept the report from Mr. Savage. Thank you very much.
Chairman Green, Stewart.
Honorable Stewart votes green, so vote changes to 5 in favor, 0 opposed, chair not voting, motion carries. Thank you. At this time, we're going to offer thanks for the food. We're going to eat as we continue our meeting at this time. So let's pray and give thanks. Heavenly Father, thank you again for the day, and thank you for the many blessings of life. We ask, Father, that you bless this food and bless the hands that prepared. Bless it for our body's nourishment and help us daily to be good. Give us our skills. In Jesus' name, amen. Amen. Thank you. We'll go ahead down to report by Navajo Nation Gaming Regulatory. Presenter will be Michelle Jones. What we'll do is, honorable colleagues, we'll take a 10-minute recess while we get our food. And it looks so good and none that you're missing out on. So let's take a 10-minute recess and we get our food. About 12:13. Okay, honorable members of RDC, we'll go ahead and get started again. We have nomination Jamie Story, Elvis, on small bingo games and community bingos on the nomination. Ms. Michelle Jones, you have the floor.
Thank you. Other than introduction, so many I'll say English. Good afternoon, everybody. Lunchtime. Chairman Nez, Honorable Delegate Freeman, and all the delegates that we have on the line. I appreciate this opportunity to be able to introduce this topic regarding small bingo games and raffles on the Navajo Nation. This is the first time we are going to be presenting this information. My office, the Navajo Nation Game and Regulatory Office, is in the process of revising our tribal gaming regulation, and this topic had come up. It has been lingering on the Navajo Nation for some time, but in the past 2-3 years, it really is an issue that we need to address now because of the awareness that has reached the National Indian Gaming Commission in regards to bingos that are happening on the reservation, on Navajo Nation. So I did do this introduction of this topic beginning last week to several of the divisions with Navajo Nation. So with ours, I wanted to get it out into the public and give some awareness. So I did have a handout. I hope everybody has that. I also sent electronically. Excuse that I may not have all the information. I have been the delegated executive director for the past year. Just recently, I accepted the position of the executive director, so now acting executive director with the Gaming Regulatory Office. I will have to await confirmation from the council prior to being permanently the executive director. But previously, I was the deputy executive director, and my main charge was administrative responsibility of the regulatory office, the NNGRO. The purpose of this presentation is to introduce my office, the Navajo Nation Gaming Regulatory Office, and to provide information regarding small bingo games and raffles on the Navajo Nation, and to bring awareness on the Navajo Nation Gaming Ordinance, which is codified within the Navajo Nation codes and the Navajo Nation Tribal Gaming Regulations, including how to legally operate a gaming operation on the Navajo Nation. Just a couple of definitions before we get started, so that it helps out when I go through the presentation. Gaming activity means all forms of Class 2 and Class 3 gaming conducted within the territorial jurisdiction of the nation. This is usually used interchangeably with the word gambling. Game of chance means a game whose outcome is strongly influenced by some randomizing device. The NNGRO, who are we? We are the regulatory body with the civil authority of all gaming activities listed and happening on the Navajo Nation. We are established under Title 5 of the Navajo Nation Code at subsection 2009. We are within the executive branch of the Navajo Nation government under the office of the President and Vice President. There is legislative oversight by the Resource Development Committee of the Navajo Nation Council. The NNGRO is identified as an independent regulatory agency of the Navajo Nation and shall not be subject to political direction or influence from any public official or public employee of the Navajo Nation. Some additional information is that no employee or independent contractor of the NNGRO is permitted to game in any gaming operation in the nation. Therefore, the employees of NNGRO are not allowed to gamble within the casinos, the Navajo casinos, or play in any type of Class 2 or Class 3 gaming on the nation. We are responsible for the development and issuance of gaming regulations regarding all gaming activities on the Navajo Nation, particularly Class 2 and Class 3. And I will get to those definitions of Class 2 and Class 3. Our organizational setup we have an executive director, myself, oversees the entire office. We have an administration department, we have a compliance and training department. And within our regulatory responsibilities, we have an enforcement department, licensing department, and surveillance department. So several information about our enforcement department. The enforcement department is, all the staff are located at all Navajo Nation casinos. They are the gaming agents. They are on the floor of the casino, and they ensure that the gaming operator, which is the gaming enterprise, is in compliance with the Navajo Nation Gaming Ordinance, the Tribal State Compacts, and the gaming regulations. We also ensure the protection of the Navajo Nation gaming assets. We also investigate illegal or suspicious activity to ensure game protection and protection of tribal assets. Our surveillance department, they're also located in all 4 Navajo casinos. They ensure safety and protection standards are being followed by the gaming facility operators by using a camera surveillance system installed within the gaming facility. Basically, they observe from the top. They look through the cameras onto the gaming floor. They also ensure compliance with the Navajo Nation Gaming Ordinance, the Tribal State Compacts, and the gaming regulations. We also have a licensing department. They're responsible for the administration and issuance of gaming license to prospective vendors and employees to a gaming operation. They also conduct background checks of all potential employees and vendors to the gaming operation. They also recommend suitability of potential gaming license for employees and vendors, and they also investigate any illegal or suspicious activity by a licensee to ensure game protection and protection of tribal assets. I created a new department called the Compliance and Training. They are responsible for coordination of the administrative compliance of the Indian Gaming Regulatory Act, the Gaming Ordinance, the Tribal State Compacts between our office, the gaming facilities, and other regulatory office, that's usually federal and state. They also monitor the training needs of staff. They also develop, implement, and maintain a training plan and program for the NNGRO. I am in the process of developing this program so that our staff are current and up to date on the knowledge in regards to gaming. Our regulatory responsibilities, why we regulate. We ensure all gaming activities conducted on the Navajo Nation are of the highest standards of honesty and integrity. We protect the assets of the Navajo Nation gaming industry. We maintain the public's confidence and trust in gaming activities on the Navajo Nation. To enforce health and safety, protect the patron employees at a gaming. We also ensure again the nation's compliance with the Indian Gaming Regulatory Act, the Gaming Ordinance, Gaming Compacts, and gaming regulations. We regulate the Class 2 and Class 3 gaming on the Navajo Nation. Other gaming regulatory agencies we work with the National Indian Gaming Commission, Arizona Department of Gaming, and the New Mexico Gaming Control Board. Now about bingo. Some information about bingo. In general, bingo is defined as a game of chance in which each player has one or more cards printed with differently numbered squares on which to place markers with the perspective. Numbers are drawn and announced by a caller. The first player to mark a complete row or other pattern of numbers is the winner. So the pictures I showed here are kind of what everybody associates with bingo. Now playing bingo in the Navajo Nation. What are the common ones? You can play bingo at home with family and friends during gatherings such as Christmas, birthdays, or other special occasions. Or you can play bingo at any of the 4 Navajo casinos. Or you can also play bingo at a local chapter house or someone's homestead with other players. And there's also the social media bingo. This is such as the one you find on Facebook. But we'll get back to this one later. I want to talk about number 3, the bingo at local chapter houses or someone's homestead with other players. Why is this significant? This is classified as Class 2 gaming according to the Indian Regulatory Act. When it has the following 3 elements: consideration, you have to pay to play; chance, winner is chosen at random, no skill is needed. You don't need any special skills to play or to win, and a prize is given to the winner or winners. regulatory, also known as Ejr for short, was enacted by the United States Congress on October 17, 1988 to regulate the conduct of gaming on Indian land. It also established the National Indian Gaming Commission and the regulatory structure for Indian gaming in the United States. The NIGC is responsible enforcing the compliance of Ejr. It also establishes 3 categories of gaming into classes. You have class 1, class 2, and class 3. Class 2 gaming. Class 2 gaming means the game of chance, commonly known as bingo, whether or not electronic, computer, or other technological aids are used. It's played for prizes, including monetary prizes with cards bearing numbers or other designations, in which the holder of the card covers such number or designation with objects similarly numbered or designated are drawn or electronically determined, and which the game is won by the first person covering a previously designated arrangement of numbers or designations on such cards, including if played in the same locations such as pool tabs, lotto, punch board, tip jars, instant bingo, and other games similar to bingo, and card games that are explicitly authorized by the laws of the state or are not explicitly prohibited by the laws of the state and are played at any location in the state, but only if such card games are played in conformity with those laws and regulations. Other classes under Ejr. Class 1. Gaming is defined as social games solely for the prizes of minimal value of traditional forms of Indian gaming engaged in by individuals as part of or connection with tribal ceremonies or celebrations. This class 1 is subject to requirements of Ejr. Class 3, gaming is defined as it means all forms of gaming that are not class 1 or class 2, and this class 3 is subject to the requirements of an applicable tribal state gaming compact. Under Ejr, the use of the net revenues, these are funds that are received from the tribes from gaming operations, and they shall be used for 5 purposes. I have written this so that it's specific to Navajo Nation. It's to fund Navajo Nation government operational programs, to provide for the general welfare of the Navajo Nation and its members, to promote the Navajo Nation economic development, to donate to charitable organizations, and to help fund the operations of local government agencies. Class 2 and Class 3 gaming. The Ejr requirements on a gaming ordinance. According to subsection 2710 on 25 CFR of the Code of Federal Regulations, it states that tribal gaming ordinances are needed by a tribe who engages in gaming operations or gaming activities. That tribe will have jurisdiction over Class 1 and Class 2 gaming activity. Class 1 games on Indian land is within the exclusive jurisdiction of the Indian tribe and shall not be subject to provisions of this chapter, therefore excluding the Class 1s, and you can play Class 1 without being subject to the Ejr. Any Class 2 gaming on Indian land shall continue to be within the jurisdiction of the Indian tribe, but shall be subject to the provisions of this chapter. Regulation of Class 2 gaming activity, net revenue allocation, audits, and contracts. An Indian tribe may engage in or license or regulate Class 2 gaming on Indian land with such tribe's jurisdiction if such Indian tribe is located within a state that permits such gaming for any purposes by any person, organization, or entity. The governing body of the Indian tribe adopts an ordinance or resolution which is approved by the chairman. And when they say chairman, they are talking about the National Indian Gaming Commission chairman. A separate license is issued by the Indian tribe should be required for each place, facility, or location on Indian land at which Class 2 gaming is conducted. The Navajo Gaming Ordinance. The first Navajo Gaming Ordinance was passed on October 16, 2001 by the Navajo Nation Council. Major amendments to the Gaming Ordinance happened in 2018. The Navajo Gaming Ordinance Amendment Act of 2018 was passed by the Navajo Nation Council on October 18, 2018, and it was approved by the National Indian Gaming Commission on June 24, 2019. The Navajo Gaming Ordinance is found in Title 5 of the Navajo Nation Code under Chapter 10, Ordinance for the Regulation of Gaming Activities within the Navajo Nation. It's cited as 5 Navigation Code subsection 2001 to 2096. Under subsection 2001 legislative findings, the reason for the gaming ordinance is to have orderly and honest conduct at gaming activities within the Navajo Nation will be of vital importance to the economy of the Navajo Nation and to the general welfare of its members. The purpose of this ordinance is to maintain the highest standards of honesty and integrity in a gaming operation, to have public confidence and trust in the honesty and integrity of the gaming activities, have maximum reasonable economic return to the Navajo Nation as owner of the gaming facilities within the Navajo Nation, and be in compliance with all applicable laws of the Navajo Nation and the United States, including but not limited to the Ejr and the Compact. Applicability: this ordinance applies to Class 2 and Class 3 gaming on the Navajo Nation. Just on some significant definitions that I want to bring out. On Class 1 gaming, this is directly from the gaming ordinance. It says it includes social games solely for prizes of minimum value or traditional forms of Indian gaming when played by individuals in connection with tribal ceremonies and celebrations. So basically, mirroring the definition of the Ejr. Class 2 gaming also mirrors the definition of Ejr to include the bingo and lotto, pull tabs, punch cards, tip jars, instant bingo, other games, and also non-banking card games. Class 3 gaming is all forms of gaming as defined in Ejr, which also includes any housing banking games, but not limited to card games such as baccarat, chim de fleur, blackjack, powwow, and other casino games such as roulette, craps, and keno. And any slot machines as defined under Title 15 of the United States Code. And any sports betting and pari-mutuel wagering, including but not limited to wagering on horse racing, dog racing, giant ala, or lottery. And some other significant definitions: gaming activities. It means all forms of Class 2 or Class 3 gaming conducted within the territorial jurisdiction of the Navajo Nation. Gaming facility means the building or structure is licensed and approved by the NNGRO in which gaming activities are conducted. A gaming facility operator means the Navajo Nation Gaming Enterprise, which is the wholly owned tribal enterprise or such other entity of the nation, as a nation may from time to time designate as the wholly owned tribal entity, having full authority and responsibility for the operation and management of Class 2 and Class 3 gaming activities. Or such other person as the NNGRO may authorize to conduct small bingo or raffle in accordance with Ejr and this ordinance. Gaming operation, it means all gaming activities conducted within a gaming facility. So they all tie together. Net revenues means the gross revenues of any gaming activity, less amounts paid out of, as or paid for prizes and total gaming related operating expenses, including all the expenses of the gaming activity commonly known as operating expenses and non-operating expenses, consistent with professional accounting pronouncements, excluding management fees. A person is a corporation, company, partnership, firm, association, or society, as well as a natural person. When person is used to designate a violator or offender of any law, it includes a corporation, company, partnership, firm, association, or society of persons. Within the gaming ordinance, at subchapter 3, talks about Navajo Nation's ownership of gaming activities. It says that Navajo Nation shall have a sole propriety interest and responsibility of gaming operations except for Class 1 gaming, small bingo games and raffles, and lottery at a licensed NNGE facility. And then also for use of net revenues, states that all net revenues received by the nation from all gaming activities shall be utilized according to the applicable Navajo Nation laws and Ejr. It should not be distributed as per capita payment to Navajo Nation tribal members, and it will follow the Ejr's 5 uses of net revenues. The facility license, requirements of a license is that my office at NGRO issues new or renewed facility license to each place, facility, or location where gaming activity is conducted. And it states that no gaming activity is to occur prior to the issuance like a facility license. And then standards for issuance of a license, a gaming facility must meet requirements prior to issuance of a facility license. The physical facility, gaming activities, staff, and equipping facilities, management contract or management of facilities follows requirements of the ordinance, and all applicable employees have licenses. So all those that work in a gaming facility must have a license. Lastly, gaming operations under subsection 2081 specifically states for small bingo games and raffles, any person upon proper application to the NNGRO may conduct or operate a small bingo game or raffle within the territorial jurisdiction of the nation in accordance with the regulatory provisions of Ejr, including 25 CFR subsection 542.6. Regulations issued by the NNGRO specifying the manner in which such games may be conducted. And therefore, after the gaming ordinance, the Ejr requires development and implementation of a tribal gaming regulation that sets the standards for the Class 2 and Class 3 gaming activity combination, which must meet or exceed the minimum standards set by Ejr for Class 2 and set by an applicable state by under a tribal state gaming compact. This is where the NNGRO is responsible for writing, developing, and issuing the tribal gaming regulations. The first Navajo Nation tribal gaming regulation was promulgated in June 2006 and updated in September 2015, and we are now in the process of revising these regulations. I want to bring out a response to the gaming ordinance that the National Indian Gaming Commission did, and it was a letter addressed to President Nez in regards to the review of the gaming ordinance. And this letter here is actually public information. But I wanted to bring out an area of that, parts of that letter in which we're bringing this small bingo to your attention. It is the opinion of the Office of General Counsel that while the nation's gaming ordinance is substantially compliant with the requirements of Ejr, subsection 2005 of the gaming ordinance regarding sole propriety interest may result in the violation of the act if not clarified. Specifically, subsection 2005 provides for exceptions to the requirement and that tribes maintain the sole propriety interest in and responsibility for the conduct of gaming, such as Class 1 gaming, small bingo, raffles, and lotteries. Ejr and NIGC regulations, however, only provide for one exception to the sole propriety interest requirement, and that is for individually owned gaming. If a tribe chooses to allow individually owned gaming, its ordinance may specify as much and include certain requirements for that gaming. As currently drafted, the nation's gaming ordinance does not specifically list Ejr's individually owned gaming requirements. And lastly, of that part of that letter, it is our understanding, though, based on discussions with representatives of the nation, that the nation interprets its ordinance as allowing individually owned gaming as the only exception to the sole propriety interest requirement, and that all of Ejr's and NIGC's regulation requirements for individually owned gaming will be followed. We recommend that the next time the nation's ordinance is amended, it include Ejr's individually owned gaming requirements. We further strongly recommend that the nation include the individually owned gaming requirements within its gaming regulations. Therefore, tying us into why this presentation is being done as we are working on revising our gaming regulations. I do want to point out, I did have quite a typo on my slide. I'm going to go over, skip the slide that says bigger requirements on bingo, subsection 542.6. It is just a repeat of the next one, and I'm actually going to cover.
Michelle, would you pause one moment? You'll reach your 20 minutes.
Okay.
How much time do you need?
I probably need about 5 more minutes. I can wrap it up.
Okay. Honorable members of RDC, we would like to extend the time and add 5 minutes for game and regulatory. Are there any objections? None? Okay, go ahead. You have an additional 5 minutes.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Yeah. So, so the requirements of Ejr says there is a part that does not apply to small and charitable gaming organizations, and that's under subsection 543.4, and it makes a reference to an area called independent operators. And this is within the NIGC letter that they were talking about. So it talks about independent operators. And so I want to describe really quick what independent operators are. It's those that operate Class 2 bingo operation within the boundaries of the Navajo Nation. What requirements apply to the independent operators? The requirements come directly from Ejr, which states that in order to independently operate a Class 2 gaming operation has to be licensed and regulated. They have to, their income has to be 60% of their net revenues has to be given to the tribe. They have to have licensing standards, and then they also have to use those funds for the 5 purposes that were under Ejr. It also says that we have to follow the state requirements since the state of Arizona allows bingo. There is requirements under the state of Arizona, and I provided some information on that. And also in the state of New Mexico, right now, since Class 2 and Class 3 gaming is allowed in Arizona and New Mexico, I provided some information as far as what the state of New Mexico requires operating a bingo operation. So that brings me to the last one about the independent bingo operators. What would we have to do to allow independent operators? Is we would have to establish regulations, we would have to meet the applicable state requirements, and we would have to abide by the Ejr requirements. So that wraps up my presentation on the bingo portion. And I did include some information about raffles, but you can I did put my contact information in the folders if you want to ask me more specific questions on raffles, or I can do another presentation at a different time. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your presentation. Honorable members of RDC, let's have a motion. Second. Motion by Honorable Freeland. Is there a second?
Stewart.
Honorable Stewart, thank you. Any comments, questions? Honorable Freeland.
Thank you, Chairman. Colleagues, staff, and Michelle, thank you for the presentation again. I felt like I was going back and getting my license again, on all these requirements again. And I used to be in the gaming industry at one point in my past life, Chairman and colleagues, so I know exactly what they have to go through to get a gaming license. It's not easy. You have to turn in your fingerprints, and you have to turn in your taxes, you have to turn in the last 10 years of where you live, everything. Like, they go through everything. And it's a very serious situation, kind of intimidating too. But it's got to be done because, NIGC doesn't mess around. And I was always afraid of audits. That was one of the big things I was always afraid of, was being audited by NIGC. That's not, I don't know if it's not a good thing, but back then it wasn't a good thing to be audited by NIGC. Just understanding the operations as a whole, what Navajo gaming goes through, and have to comply with compacts, but also to comply with the federal regulations that work by NIGC. This office here is kind of like I don't want to say they're the police officers, but they're kind of like the police officers of gaming for Navajo. And we have to have them in place in order to have our gaming operations on Navajo. So they can't operate without one or the other. That's set forth by what Ms. Jones mentioned as far as the law being passed in 1988. These are conditions that we have to have. We have to have operations as such. So I jokingly said that there's always eyes on you at the casino. Yes, there is always. We always see big brothers watching you. That's always the regulatory individuals sitting there with their cameras and whatnot. But it's not an easy job, understandably. And I hope you guys are doing okay. Your staffing is adequate. I know that with COVID being hit us hard, especially with the casinos being shut down or the gaming industry being shut down, you might have had staff leave, maybe joining because the other gaming institutions, such as the Pueblos or even the Apaches opened before we did, maybe they jumped ship to them, or maybe they even went to Vegas or other areas in the industry. But, just knowing that how vital this department is, and NNGRO, adequacy of staffing levels and the compliance is real important. And I hope you guys are at the staffing levels that's needed. And because, you guys have a huge responsibility at the gaming, at the sites individually, whether it's Twin Arrows, Fire Rock, or even the two up here, Flowing Water and Northern Edge. And Class 2 is the 3, but the Class 3 is Flowing Water because it's just a slot. And then the Class 2 EG is considered all the tables. So if you have tables, that's a Class 2. And recently we got Class 2 in Arizona on that side. So, and then right now they're just operating a sports book in Arizona, but they haven't started in the New Mexico side. So you see all these commercials for Caesars app and downloading and placing bets online. That's a hard thing to regulate, I imagine, as well. These betting apps too, because we have our own here on Navajo. That's another concern, is how we're going to deal with those potentially. The issue of how, the whole process of you coming together, but the bingo is hard to regulate. I can probably understand. I know driving around Crown, I actually saw some signs around, and don't go after them, please, in Crown Point. they're just doing a little operation, I imagine. But I hope they're participate, just let you know. But I know there's little signs here and there for little families. They sell food, but they also have bingo operations going on. I think that's something as a reminder, maybe if you can educate and start doing the public awareness again, that's not a good thing, or it's not an adequate thing, because it may potentially hurt our relationship with NITC, or it may hurt us with our compacts. They need to understand that as well. And I just wanted to bring that up because even going as far as, remember on Facebook, they used to have those, what do you call it? What were they called? No, remember they used to pull numbers, or they used to pull the raffle, the online raffle. And we used to get invited to join like $5 a bet and things like that. And I know in Winter Rock, and I know specifically when I used to work at the president's office, there used to be pools going around in the offices. I'm sure there still is, Super Bowl or whatever, $5 a square, $10 a square. Those are also considered, so I don't want to say illegal, but that happens too. And I even want to take it a step further. Rodeo, Ejr, is that considered gambling? I mean, jackpots, or that's like taking a chance. And I not to bring that up, but that's a situation that somebody asked me about one time. Is rodeo gambling? I said, I don't think so. One of my constituents asked me that. I said, I don't think so. But people bring these types of questions up to you as a delegate, it's not, there's no machine, there's no table, there's no dice, there's no cards. Rodeo is a different situation. So I had to explain it to them that way. But, these are the kinds of questions we get from community members out there. So I definitely appreciate it. And I always remember the whole stance that Fort McDowell took back in the early 90s, and how this whole Navajo, or this whole industry started with Indian gaming. Fort McDowell was probably one of the pioneers of Indian gaming, and how they took a stance to the federal government at that time. And I always remember them using heavy equipment to block the federal people from coming into Fort McDowell. And that was one of those instances that happened back when Indian gaming started. Now you look at Indian gaming as a whole, I think of, when I go to Albuquerque, I see that mecca of Sandia and that whole empire that they've developed. Sandia, I always remember at that time, Sandia was netting probably about $400 million every quarter. They were reporting that to the state. That's a lot of money they were making. And a portion of that goes to the state as well. And remember, our cut or our net profit, we have to give some of it to the states too, per the compact. So the states need to also remember that. And we need to remind the states that, you know what, we give you guys money as well, per the compact. So I can't imagine how much the states profit off of Indian gaming. But our operations are different, our operations are unique. The market, especially the market, the situation with Twin Arrows, how that market has, you have Cliff Castle to the south, and then you have potentially Hopi creating a market as well that could compete with Navajo. And then vice versa, Fire Rock, is Zuni going to have a compact that could, compete against Navajo? So these are potential situations that we have. Going back to Albuquerque, you have Sandia, Isleta, and you have Route 66, and they're kind of positioned well. And you also have Santa Ana, and then you have Black Mesa, then you have other casinos at work. But that market is all, it's all consumed by those three big ones. And then you think of Phoenix as well. You think of Phoenix, I always jokingly say that Gila River's advertising at Albuquerque TV. Now you see that guy he's all fly, and you hear Pitbull's song come on, and that makes you want to go to Gila River now, And there's even a billboard in Albuquerque for Gila River. And that, wow, they're actually going into territory that belong to other tribes. And the volatility of that, they're marketing themselves at a different market. And that says a lot for Gila River. And, just Phoenix as well, how Phoenix is surrounded by gaming. You have Tohono O'odham on the west part of Glendale. You have Gila River, you have Fort McDowell. They're all positioned very well. And it's just the way they did it, the way the tribes, the urban areas, the populated areas did it, it's very strategic. But then you look at us, we have a very good market as well. And, Fire Rock, I know Fire Rock makes the most for us. And our own Navajo people are the ones that are the consumers. I know Rodney's been there. No, but just speaking of it as a whole, Chairman, how gaming on Navajo has really flourished and taken off. Since COVID reopening, now that thanks to Dr. Jim and the Health Command team allowing 75% or moving up to the orange status now, 75% capacity, that will really help drive some revenue, we hope. But then going back to you guys are the ones that have to watch what happens within that setting. And you guys are the eyes. You guys are basically everything to that operation. So just want to say thank you to NNGRO and your staff, you and your team that are here. More importantly, your staff. That's somebody's sitting right now watching all those monitors and probably one of those rooms right now. But those guys, everyone that's a part of the regulatory, it's not an easy job. It's not an easy job knowing. But Chairman, I just wanted to give my input and my comments on it because I know exactly how this works. And like I said, at one point in my past life, I was involved with gaming. I had a Class 2 gaming license, and I know exactly what you have to go through to get that license. It's not easy. You have to basically fill everything. You have to have a fingerprint check with the FBI. You have to go through all these stressful processes. It's a lot. But anyway, thank God I passed, by the way. Just kidding. But anyway, I want to say thank you, Michelle, for all you and your staff, what you guys do. Yeah, thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Michelle. I do have a question for you before we adjourn. We certainly appreciate your presentation and oversight. We are the Oversight over Gaming Regulatory Office. I was looking through your presentation here that chapter houses and most likely family bingos need to come into compliance, as well as some churches that do sponsor these bingos. My question is, on the last page, independent bingo operators, what would have to be done to allow independent operators to conduct Class 2 gaming activities? Question, establish regulations. So are you requesting a legislation be drafted to include perhaps an amendment to the regulations to bring them into compliance, or do you have any recommendations from your office?
May I answer?
Yes.
Thank you, Chairman Ed. On your question for independent operators, what we're trying to do right now is just get the awareness and educating everybody on the Navajo Nation that, yes, it's correct that the bingos that happen at the chapter house, at the churches and at the family home, the family homestead has to be regulated, and it's subjected to regulation. But however, the thing about establishing the regulations is that it goes beyond including the gaming ordinance as well as the requirements under the Indian Gaming Regulatory Act. So the thing that we're running into is they're going to be kind of equivalent to the gaming industry. So all the requirements that are required for the criteria that are required for the gaming enterprise would be the same requirements to these churches, to the individual bingo operators, which is unfortunately a lot of requirements. They have to get licensed, they have to pay fees. They also have to pay fees to the National Indian Gaming Commission. So what we want to do was to put in all these requirements into our gaming regulations so that people who are interested could be able to apply for a gaming license to operate a bingo operation. We don't normally our regulations don't go through the council. We actually, it does say the gaming ordinance that we can establish the regulations. However, we do want your input, and that's why we're bringing this out and presenting to the committee.
Well, thank you. We do appreciate your presentation and the recommendation to provide major chapters, these presentations, so everybody is aware that these amendments, regulations will come forth at some point. And the police officers will be coming. Good brother. Thank you, staff. Yeah. So, honorable members of RDC, any other comments or questions?
Thank you, Chairman. Michelle, this is what Chairman asked for. Does that mean that they would have to be subject to surrender 60% of their profit and give that to the nation, right? If they were to sign or adhere to getting a license for a Class 2 operation or Class 3 operation. So these churches and the people in Crown Point that have these little operations going have to give up 60% of their profit to the nation in order to have these 60-40 cut, basically, to keep these operations going. But they'd have to establish that regulatory relationship with NNGRO. So that would be the compliance. And I don't know how many of our families would do that. So just something for you to consider as well. But that's my question. Thank you. Michelle?
Thank you, Delegate Freeman. Yes, you are correct. That would actually be one of the requirements that, well, there would be two different for the churches. It would be called charitable bingo operations. So they can't profit any of that money. It's got to go to their operations, for the charitable purposes. However, like the family one that you're talking about, yes, they would be subjected to the 60%. And so that would have to be written to the regulations. Unfortunately, that's how it's all tied in together. But the biggest one I want to kind of point out about that is that as long as it has those three elements that you have to pay to play, that it was done by some type of randomness, by chance, and then there's a prize at the end. If it meets those three elements, then it is considered class 2 bingo. So that would make it, I hate to use this word right now pretty strongly, it is illegal to do that on an application. My office does not have the capacity right now to regulate all throughout the Navajo Nation on these class 2 bingos that are happening outside of the casino. So we're not going to go run out there now and, start doing all that. No. We're not going to do that. My best approach is to educate and bring public awareness, so that, so that everybody understands that we do have gaming laws on the Navajo Nation, and that we can't really run amok with the, illegal gaming. So that's my purpose right now, is again, to educate and bring awareness to the public about that. Again, it did come to the attention of the NIGC, and that was why they said that we know that this is happening. And I do want to answer one of your comments, if you don't mind, and it's a question, the one about rodeos. That's actually not gambling. The reason would be is because it's not done by chance. It's actually skill. So you have to be good in order to win. Then you win. So if everybody was on equal ground, everybody all had the same skill, and it didn't have to, who was good at castle pin, who was good at female pin, who was better roper, that better person wins. So the more you have to have a special skill in order to win. So that's not gambling. Hope that answers your question. I wrote too, so I know.
Thank you, Michelle. He's ready for shoot number one.
I'm ready for Kanomi or balancing machine.
Thank you for your presentation. I believe it's time to vote to accept the report. Honorable Vice Chair Walker, how do you vote? Honorable Vice Chair Walker votes green according to his text message. Honorable Kealan DeGay, text is voted as green, as well as Honorable Daniel, texting is voted as green. Honorable Freeland, how do you vote? Green. Honorable Stewart, how do you vote?
Green.
You might have lost.
We have a vote of 5 in favor, 0 opposed, Chair not voting. Motion carries. Thank you. And thank you. Now, Untitled Chapter, Mr. Chavez, Mr. Hawkins, thank you very much to your staff, the community. The food was very delicious. Thank you very much. Close the meeting. Any announcements? None. Motion to adjourn. Honorable Freeland, second. Is there a second?
Second, Chair.
Honorable Stewart, second. Honorable Vice Chair Walker votes green according to his text message. Honorable Begay votes green according to his text message. Honorable Daniel votes green according to his text message. Honorable Freeland, how do you vote? Green. Honorable Freeland votes green. Honorable Stewart?
Green.
Honorable Stewart votes green. We have a vote of 5 in favor, 0 opposed. Chair not voting. Motion carries. We are officially adjourned at 1:06 p.m. Thank you very much, everybody, for your participation. Gaming Regulatory for coming. Community people, thank you. Thank you, staff.